12, stick to check that one out.
6-1 bullet, 2-1 started, you saw us.
Yeah. It's Thursday night, but it feels like Friday night, but it's only Thursday night. What's up? I'm so excited to be back again tonight. I missed you guys. I'm so glad I'm back tonight. Gonna start off the show with Sarah Azari. I don't know how to pronounce her name right. Azari, something like that. We're gonna start off with a little Sarah Azari, get into some law and crime stuff, and then we're gonna get into a whole bunch of stuff tonight. I dropped 2 videos after the show earlier. I dropped one video where it shows the route, no interruptions, no sound, no banners, no nothing, just for you. And then I also dropped a video with the PCA route that also has the commentary with it, just to kind of explain, to have some explanation and some music and all that stuff behind it. So 2 versions, both show the same thing, but one obviously is just the footage, and then the other one has the commentary to it. So those are the 2 videos that I dropped after the show. I appreciate you guys' support, and thank you for the comments on it. If you haven't left one, go check it out. Please do. Thank you for the sub, K Shrimp. How you doing tonight? Detective Golden, ticket number 2. Uh-oh, I must be missing some messages here. Kelly Miller, ticket number 3. Ticket number 5, Caddy. Thank you so much. Katrina, ticket number 9. Miley, ticket number 10. What's up, Katrina? DS, number 13. Ticket 13. Devil Doll, what's up? Mark and Betty, morning from the UK. It's got to be early. What's up, Yoli? Good luck at your appointment this afternoon, evening. Detective Golden, what's up? Thank you so much for your support as well. Crystal, good evening. Dream Suburb here to just say hi. Thank you. Appreciate that. 2.4K. Yeah, right. What's up, Party of Hot? What's up? It's funny. What's that, Brandywine? True crime. Oh, missed you. That's one thing that's tough about going on the road is it's hard, especially when you're like in a completely different time zone. Oh, it'd be so early for me, and it'd be like late morning for you, and it's like, dang. It was a task. I'm gonna say that for right now. Like, it was definitely a task trying to hit the East Zone with the Pacific Zone. Ticket number 18. It's definitely a task. What's up, Stardust? Aw. So this was from a court TV special they did a while ago. If you remember, it was when Vinny was giving us like, he didn't look at the camera. Vinny was like doing one of, let's see, how do we do this? He was like one of these. He was doing some shit like that. Like he's too big to give the camera eye contact. Too big to give it the camera contact. Well, this was during that episode. Sarah Aari, Presumption Podcast, shout out, News Nation, whatever, was saying some really interesting shit, and I'm glad because it was well-rounded when it comes to everything that's being discussed, everything that needs to be discussed, everything that needs to have it be a topic of a conversation when it comes to this case, or any case for that matter that's involving any of the stuff that we're talking about. Real questions, seeking real answers, and not accepting the BS. So we're going to get into this short video tonight, and then we're going to hop in the show. Thank you all for hanging out. I appreciate you. Please hit the like if you haven't yet. It's the free way to help. And here we go.
Wants to know why. Why would Bryan Kohberger do this? The way that we have been convicting Kohberger is absolutely appalling and disgusting. We don't know when and how this DNA got there. I'm not at all worried about the DNA. It's absolutely disgusting. This guy does not have a presumption of innocence. He has the assumption of guilt. I'm Sarah Aari. I'm a criminal trial attorney in Los Angeles. I'm currently a legal analyst for News Nation, and I am the host of the Presumption Podcast. You know, pretrial convictions of high-profile defendants in high-profile cases is nothing new, but Koberger is a whole other level. And I think not only we found him guilty of slaying the 4 Idaho students, but we've decided that he's going to get the death penalty. We don't know when and how this DNA got there. So if Brian Koberger is person A and he touches this knife sheath, and then somehow this knife sheath is picked up by somebody else. I mean, he could touch it, he could handle it, it could be anything. And then that person then somehow is in this Kings Road home. That is a perfect explanation of how Koberger's DNA was on that knife sheath. Is insufficient to place him in that home, let alone to place the murder. Mode, or it could have just simply not picked up signal during that time. What's odd, of course, and what's problematic for the defense is that his phone did pick up signal before the murders and after the murders. The car is driving around, but then suddenly during the window of the murders, we don't know where this car was. We don't know where it was parked. We just know nothing about the car. Identification of the Hyundai Elantra as like the suspect vehicle, that's a problem. And then we have Dylan, the surviving roommate, and she's so afraid that she goes back in her bedroom and locks herself up and then doesn't call 911 for 8 hours later. Okay, that is highly unusual. We look to expected behavior, expected response, reasonable response. That is what makes sense to jurors. Jurors are normal people. So you tell them a story, it better make sense, right? And it doesn't make sense. The fact that this Kings Road house was a party house is a huge big deal because it expands the universe of suspects. Who was there at the time of the murders? What was their connection to the victims? Who had access to this home before? Did they have possible motive to kill? For months, we've been calling this a party house. This is a party venue. Motive is not an element of crime or murder. But of course, every inquiring mind wants to know why. Why would Brian Koberger do this to 4 innocent victims, college students? Could the state go to trial without motive? Absolutely, but I bet they won't. And the problem here is that we don't even have a connection to these victims. Forget about motive. To have a full defense, he absolutely needs to know that this investigation against him was 100% according to protocol. When you're talking about a defendant's right to a fair trial and his due process and his Sixth Amendment to have a full defense, he absolutely needs to know that this investigation against him was 100% according to protocol and that there was integrity in this investigation.
Yep.
Koberger's alibi is that he wasn't at the crime scene, but instead he was driving around alone. That statement of his alibi doesn't tell us obviously exactly what time he was driving, where he was driving to and from, and why. I mean, we don't have any of those details. He's not saying something that's completely inconsistent with the evidence. Every inquiring.
Great video. Here is the link to it, if you'd like to have it. Oh, party of 5, right? It's true. Everything that she was saying was spot on in this episode. What's up, Nina? Everything she's saying was spot on. All right, so now we're going to switch to the law and crime sidebar about the 5 most damning pieces of evidence against Koberger. What's up, Renee? Thank you for hopping in, everybody. Appreciate you. The top 5 most damning pieces of evidence. Let's check it out. Law and crime. I'll drop the link to this video in chat as well.
A criminal complaint was filed yesterday here in Latah County, charging the defendant, Mr. Koberger, with 4 counts, first-degree murder, in addition to felony burglary.
It has been a year since 4 University of Idaho students were viciously stabbed to death in a rental home near campus. But what does the prosecution have in their case against accused killer Bryan Kohberger? We sit down with Brian Entin, senior national correspondent for News Nation, to talk about the most damning pieces of evidence in the case. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Brian Entin and Jesse Weber. Cool.
We have covered this case extensively here on Sidebar, and it is one that has captured the attention of the entire world. It's kind of strange to think that it has been a full year since all this happened, but on November 13th, 2022, Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Ayla Gonsalves, and Madison Mogan were all found stabbed to death inside of a large off-campus rental house at the University of Idaho. 2 other roommates were unharmed. There was a massive police investigation as basically the entire Moscow Police Department started looking for who could have done this. And it really rocked the entire community. And after about 6 weeks after the murders, police arrested 28-year-old Washington State University doctoral student Bryan Kohberger at his parents' home in Pennsylvania, where he was spending Christmas break. He was actually a criminology student at the time. Now, they extradited him back to Idaho, charged him with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. A grand jury looked over the evidence that prosecutors collected and indicted Bryan Kohberger. The state announced that it will be seeking the death penalty.
Okay, Ms. Taylor, is Mr. Kohberger prepared to plead to these charges?
Your Honor, we will be standing silent.
Kohberger's legal team announced he was standing silent, and Judge John Judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. Kohberger also decided to waive his right to a speedy trial, which blew apart any chance of this trial starting in October as originally planned. The accused killer is behind bars in the small town of Moscow, Idaho, currently awaiting trial. But the question now is, how strong is the actual evidence against him? Well, to answer that, let me bring in Brian Entin, News Nation senior national correspondent who has been covering this case from the very beginning. Brian is actually in Idaho 1 year later. Brian, it's great to see you. First off, what is it like being back there? And it's hard to imagine just 1 year has gone by. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's really weird to think about it. Sorry, we're actually driving now. My producer's driving. We're driving over to where there's going to be a vigil on campus later today. But yeah, it just feels kind of surreal. I think the town is still very much like coping with everything, especially since, the legal process is ongoing. The trial has been delayed. They thought maybe it would happen this year. It's now not happening. So it's kind of like everyone here is in this weird limbo. Like they want to try and move on somewhat, but it's really hard to do that when, Bryan Kohberger is in the jail here and there's still this long court process ahead. Yeah, it's a little bit of a strange feeling. And I'll tell you I didn't think that a year from when he was arrested, we were going to see a trial. I'm not surprised by that. This case is quite complex. The death penalty eligible case. I think there's a lot at stake here. And that's what I wanted to bring you on, because if anybody knows about the evidence in this case, it is you. You've been doing terrific reporting. So let's go through some of the evidence here and what to make of it. I'm going to start with the DNA. Arguably one of the biggest pieces of evidence that we know the prosecutors have against Kohberger. He's, of course, innocent until proven guilty, but the Latah County prosecutors, they need to have the goods if they were going to win the case. And you talk about the DNA. We know that authorities were able to make a familial match from the DNA on a knife sheath found at the crime scene to Kohberger's father. They did this by collecting trash from outside the Kohberger home in Pennsylvania. And then after Kohberger was arrested, authorities took a cheek swab from him, and then the court documents reveal that the DNA recovered from the sheath is almost an identical match to Kohberger. But Brian, the defense has been saying not so fast, right? They're saying that there's been a lot of fighting between the prosecutors and the defense over what's called investigative genetic genealogy, or IgG. Yeah, it's a new science. It's really interesting, the IgG, the investigative genetic genealogy. We were actually just in Idaho like about a week ago for hearing about it.
Hey there, everybody. I want to talk to you about something that I am super excited about. GEDmatch is now sponsored. So Brian, one of the things that I think is really interesting, and my understanding is the judge has set a deadline of December 1st to get all of this DNA evidence in, to look at it, to see what can be used. There were actually some arguments that were made at a motions hearing on August 18th about this.
Well, my understanding was that the state did provide all the information about the laboratory, we'll say the laboratory DNA that analysis was not related to the genealogy DNA. Am I mistaken about that? What are you saying that it didn't provide something?
Your Honor, in our third motion to compel, we had a section called Standard Lab Discovery, and that has to do with other DNA profiles found at the scene. They have provided full discovery for the sheet, the DNA found on the night sheet, but not the other 3 unidentified male DNA samples, 2 from within the house, 1 from outside of it.
All right. So if I'm understanding your question there, or your assertion that we're talking about 3 potential analysis of DNA that was not provided to you, but that has no connection to Mr. Kober.
Correct.
Any response?
Your Honor, we didn't realize this was going to be an issue today. We have given the defense everything that we received from the lab. They've asked for DNA workups on other people. To the extent that they don't have them, they weren't done. We can't produce something that doesn't exist. We provide everything.
Can't produce something that doesn't exist.
Report that relates to the forensic examination by the lab personnel of the crime scene itself. We received today. That's the only outstanding lab report. Everything else, along all the notes, is what there is, and it's been provided to the defense. And if they're hoping that there's something else there, it's not there.
You know, I'm looking at this and I'm trying to think how much of a slam dunk is the DNA evidence, because Brian, it's my understanding, I've heard the defense may argue that this was a party house, that of course Brian Koberger was at the house. No wonder his DNA would be there. And it's possible there was other people's DNA maybe at that crime scene. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've known from the beginning that it's a party house, that a lot of people went in and out of the house. The neighbors told us that from the beginning. What we don't know is if Brian Koberger has ever been to that house before. There's so much with the gag order and the evidence that we don't know about at this point. And I think something that could possibly come out at the trial, if they can prove that Brian Koberger had been to that house before for parties or something. We have no reason to think that, but if that's the case, I think that could play into, for sure, the defense.
I want to move on to the second, what I think is a huge piece of evidence. It's Brian Koberger's cell phone pinging. What are some of the key pieces that prosecutors are going to go hone in on here?
Well, yeah, in the probable cause affidavit, it makes very clear that Koberger's cell phone pinged multiple times near the crime scene around the time of the murders, and that then it went away and then came back. There's some speculation, like was he concerned that he left the knife sheath there, and that's why he went back? We don't know, but his cell phone definitely pinged in that area. And what's interesting is the cell phone, according to detectives, appears to have been turned off around the time of the actual murders, which, why would the phone be turned off right at that time? That's definitely something that the prosecution highlighted in their probable cause affidavit. Koberger's defense has said that Koberger liked to go for basically like drives and joyrides and, would drive around in the night. Is that going to be like a possible defense or alibi? We don't know, but that's something that his defense has said in filings.
And let me amplify that a little bit. So you're right. I mean, they say then they look at the cell phone technology, which, by the way, in any case, defense attorneys will try to poke holes in how accurate is it. But what it seems to suggest is that he was pinged at his apartment in Pullman, Washington, just before 3 a.m. on the morning of the murders. The house is about 10, 15 minutes away from the King Road home. The phone, like you said, connection disappeared, came on 2 hours later, which, like you said, it looks like maybe it was possible that he might have turned it off, but it comes on again at 5:30 a.m. I think it's also interesting because you look at his phone GPS and it pinged at or near that house at least 12 times before November 13th, which, again, even if you go with that alibi that he was, he took late night drives, he drove around the area, it's only 10, 15 minutes away, maybe he went to nearby bars. The fact that he was near the home, I think, is peculiar.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine how many times my phone utilized the same tower as it's utilizing the same tower as I'm getting into Moscow. It's not Chicago. It's not Chicago. It's not Chicago.
Yeah, will it come out that he was, like stalking the house, watching things there? Is that why he was driving by so many times before? I mean, we don't know that that's the reason, but they're very specific with the pings. And that's I mean, that was a big part of the probable cause affidavit. So, and the fact that the phone was turned off, and a lot of the defense attorneys, like the experts who I've interviewed over the last year, that's something that they always seem to like highlight, saying that's not good for defense. That they feel like that's one of the big issues with the defense. Why was the phone turned off at the exact times of the murders?
Suspicious. I will tell you, it seems to me the only way they can prove that alibi would either be Kohberger testifying and saying this is what he did, he would drive around, or B, witnesses saying, yeah, I knew his habits. I didn't think, it's the phone records. Phone records can only show so much, but they will call witnesses to say this is what his pattern is. Have you heard anything like that about who the defense might call to prove this alibi?
No, and we've, in all of our reporting, I've never really come across anyone in Idaho or in Washington where he was going to school and where he was getting his PhD that like was his friend or that hung out with him or that went on drives with him or that went out drinking with him. Like, we've never come across anyone like that. It's always people who like, oh yeah, he was in my class and he was kind of odd. So like, if there is a friend out there that can corroborate, that he likes to drive around and stuff, we haven't come across anyone like that.
Let's move on to the third piece of major evidence against Brian Kohberger, the car, where we know that just about, 2 weeks after the murders, police announced that they were looking for this white Hyundai Elantra. It was like one of the only pieces of information that they released during the early part of the investigation. Why is the car so important, Brian?
Yeah, and that's all that they had to go on, at least with what they were telling the media for so long. So every day in the beginning, just coming out over and over again and saying, if you've seen the Elantra, basically it was spotted around the house. There's even some surveillance video of right near where the house is, where you can see the car driving by. And they say that they've, connected the Elantra to being at or near the crime scene at the time of the murders. Again, there's a lot we don't know because of the gag order and because so many of the documents are sealed. Like, it's so frustrating with the reporting because, we'll read one paragraph and then the rest will be blacked out. So there's a lot we don't know, but from what I've read, it doesn't seem like they found any physical.
His producer or something, y'all should have timed it out better. You should have sat in a Burger King parking lot or something. The fact that you have to sit on the side of the damn road and have your hazards on the whole time is ridiculous. What the hell? This is Law and Crime Sidebar. You should have known ahead of time. Go to frickin' Burger King. This is so annoying. Look,
evidence inside the Elantra when they processed it. Again, that could just be blacked out. That could be part of the gag order. But we know that based on surveillance video, they did connect that car type, to being in and around the area of the house where the murders happened.
Yeah, they say the car passed the home like 4 times between 3:29 a.m. and 4:04 a.m. They say that the car was speeding away 16 minutes after that time, so right around after the killings. Yeah. And then you mentioned how they matched it up to him because a Washington State University officer spotted this white Hyundai Elantra in the parking lot of the apartment complex near campus. The car was registered to Kohberger. And then one of the pieces of evidence that I don't think people talk about enough, Brian, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that later on in the day of the killings, like in the afternoon, there's surveillance footage from an Albertsons where you see Brian Kohberger exiting that car, the white Hyundai Elantra. So the idea that he could come back and say, somebody else was driving my car, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And the Albertsons trip is one of the big mysteries. Like,
There was 22,000. You know how many white cars I've seen? Hell, we were looking up a white car that from a few shows ago. That was, how much was it, Caddy? How much was it, Detective Golden? Like 70 grand? You guys know what I'm talking about. Plenty of white cars there around. And I know why. It is better in Moscow. You get fucking bags to put your groceries in. You don't have to put them in your pocket or bring a bag with you. You actually get a bag. You go to Pullman. Ain't no bags nowhere. Good luck. Thank you for the $5 super sticker list, Lisa. Prickly pear. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the sunroof data.
it's like there's so many things with this case that I think are going to come out in trial that we still don't know, and that's one of the things. And even interviewing Kaylee Gonzalez's parents a couple weeks ago, that's something that they're really interested in, because we don't know what police know about him going to that store, what he was buying. That's still like one of the things that everyone is really, really curious about. But yeah, it's going to be hard for, I mean, it's his, that he has that kind of car. So it's going to be hard for him to really distance himself, I think, from the car. And you mentioned the police officer in Washington State spotting it in the parking lot. I'm also very curious, like the timeline behind the scenes. We still don't know, based on the genetic genealogy and what they were mapping out and tracing it down to Koberger. It's still a little gray of like, did they know that they thought it was Koberger at that time? Did the cop just happen to spot the car? Like, we still don't know a lot. I'm very curious what they knew and when, because covering it in real time, it was like, we know nothing. Then when the documents came out, we realized like they knew a lot, but we still don't know the exact timeline of what they knew and when.
That's a great point. Sense. That's a great point, because we also know that Koberger and his father, they were driving this white Hyundai Elantra from Washington to Pennsylvania in the weeks before his arrest. Koberger was pulled over twice by law enforcement for speeding and tailgating. Here's a sample of that.
Hello. How you doing? How y'all doing today? Good. Take a look at your driver's license real quick if I could. See, he's right up on that van, man. He's right up on the back end of that van. I pulled you over for tailgating. Is this your car? Okay.
And yeah, like another example, how that's going to fit into the overall case, the timeline. I couldn't agree with you more. Brian, I know your time is limited, so I want to go to this fourth piece of evidence. Some would say the biggest bombshell in the probable cause affidavit, a piece of evidence that I am not sure how it's ultimately going to play out. And that is, according to the affidavit, that one of the roommates who was unharmed in the attack says that she may have actually seen the suspect the night of the murders. So the King Road house, 3 floors. The attacks happened on the 2nd and 3rd floors. One of the surviving roommates, Dylan Mortensen, she has a room, told investigators that she woke up around 4 a.m. to hear some sort of noise, thought she heard Kaylee Gonzalez say that there's someone here. Mortensen claimed that she opened the door. She heard someone crying and a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." She then said that she opened the door again after she heard more crying and saw a person wearing black clothing and a mask that covered their mouth and nose walking towards her. Didn't recognize the person, thought he was maybe 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built. And one of the key identifiers, that he had bushy eyebrows. And so she says that she was frozen in shock, went back into her room. 911 wasn't called till the next day. There's been a lot of criticism, and I think unfair criticism, about Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk, about
Frozen in shock for 8 freaking hours? What causes you to get frozen in shock? Knowing that something crazy fucking happened. How long does frozen in shock last for? 8 hours?
About what happened, their role that they
Call
played.
friends of them?
How do you think that they're going to be witnesses at this upcoming trial? Because there's a lot of pressure on them to testify, and there's already a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said. I really feel for them. I hate, the articles that come out that are critical of them, because I can't imagine being in their situation. And also, like, going back to the point of what we said about it being a party house, and, they're all in college, and there were people coming and going from that house all the time. Like,
that ladder is still there. Same spot. All of this stuff in the backyard, all of this stuff is gone. The garbage can, the garbage bags, the couch, the little chair, the little fire pit looking thing, all that's gone. The frickin' ladder it's still there.
Did she know that he was that the person that was the murderer? I mean, or did she just think there was a creepy guy walking in the house, and was she half asleep? Had they been out drinking? Who knows? But yeah, she gave kind of that vague description. The bushy eyebrows was one of the more descriptive things that she said. And she, that we had no preliminary hearing in this case because it was a grand jury indictment. So we haven't actually heard from her. Like on the witness stand, we haven't been able to, read the statements that she gave police besides just the basics and the probable cause. Remember there was that issue where they wanted to try to call her in to be interviewed, and she made some kind of deal with the public defender they went out and talked to her out of state where she was staying. So she's clearly got a story that she is telling, and an account of what happened that she is telling that we don't know yet, besides those basics of what you said. Does she have even more specifics that are going to come out? I think that's possible. Was it probably just a dark shadow? We figure with bushy eyebrows, and she was maybe like half asleep. And I think that's probably more likely the case, because I think if there were more, important descriptive elements, I would have thought they would have put that in the probable cause to kind of beat it up a little bit. But again, another one of the things that I'm super fascinated with that we just don't have a lot of info on.
I should take that ladder.
And look, I'll tell you, I'm concerned that even though she could be compelled to testify, she may try every which way not to. We've heard reports that she's switched universities, that she's racked with survivor's guilt. There's all this online pressure. You mentioned what happened with, the defense coming to question her. If she goes on that stand, the defense is going to intensely question her. And she's in such a sensitive state. Do you think there's a possibility that the prosecution, with all the other evidence they have, they may not ask her as a witness? I mean, she's important, but they may not want to do that to her.
I think it's possible. I think they probably will, though. I mean, that's just my feeling. And I also wonder if some of the reporting is over. I mean, obviously she has survivor's guilt and is going through hell, but I've talked to some family members of the victims who have been in touch with her, who, they've spoken with her. I don't know if some of that is being a little overplayed in terms of her, basically just being this like basket case or something. Like I think she's obviously going through it, but I haven't done any reporting where I've found out that she is like, just unable to speak kind of thing.
That's fair. I'm glad you mentioned that. Brian, before we let you go, these were I would say 4 of the biggest pieces of evidence against Bryan Kohberger. How much more do you think they have against him, prosecutors, that we just don't know about yet? You touched upon it a little bit, but is there something from their searches of his property or his belongings that you think we don't know about yet that could play a critical role in the upcoming trial?
I think there's going to be, I really think there's going to be other bombshell evidence. I really do. We've heard the reporting about him going through the trash with the gloves on. I think some of that stuff is going to come out officially. I just think there's a lot of I think they laid out the basics, and there's going to be a lot of detail. And I think back to even the Vallow trial. There were a few bombshells that came out there that had never surfaced until the trial. I really think that's going to happen in this case. And I also think we're going to see bombshells from the defense. I mean, I think, he's got a very capable attorney. I mean, I go to almost every hearing. She's a smart woman. She's not Like, I mean, they're, they're coming up with things too, I think, behind the scenes. So I go back to the genealogy. I'm very interested to see the way that plays out. I mean, you're a lawyer. Maybe you could explain this a little better, but like if they can poke holes in that, what does that mean? Does that mean that all the evidence that they figured out because of the genealogy could possibly be thrown out? Like, they seem to be very focused on that IgG right now.
Well,
Which I think is going to be interesting.
Yeah, the part that I still am not clear about is how it was used to pinpoint Kohberger. I know they say it wasn't used as a basis for a search warrant. I just don't understand what the connection was, and that has to be clarified. So if the defense...
Yeah, they can't say that it was used to get the search warrant because then it would all fall apart. It's perfect. No, we didn't use that. Oh, the stuff it took to get that? Yeah, we don't have that. It's perfect. These guys are crafty. They've been doing it for years. They have plenty of practice. They've been doing it over and over and over. They've been successful at it. Now, technology and YouTube are a little different. Now shit's a little different. So they got away with it for all this time. It reached that mountaintop, and now it's starting to come back down the other way because it's like, okay, technology done caught up. Screw the news. Us on YouTube are doing the work. It's different now. You used to get away with it. Now, not so much. Not so much.
Defense can poke holes and like the linkage of evidence and the chain of evidence, and we call it like fruit of the poisonous tree. That is something that was definitely going to be explored. And look, I think it's going to be a fascinating trial between the prosecution and the defense. We're kind of give a little bit of a sampling of it. And, with your terrific reporting, Brian, we're going to probably find out more details before a jury is even sworn in. So Brian Enton out in Idaho, thank you so much. And as always, good to see you and great reporting.
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks for having me on.
Seems more like a fluff kind of piece right there. Speaking of the IgG, we're going to go to... This is a great channel, True Crime Overtime with Rosie. We're going to share one of her videos now, talking about the IgG stuff. Then we're going to get into some of the family interviews next. Now, there's two interviews that we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on the News Nation interview with the Consalvas family, and then we're going to focus on the Chapin interview with the local TV station. We watched all of those the other night. My last night on location, we watched all of those in one episode. So definitely check that one out. It's all in one together. Let me see here. So this is about the IgG. Does the IgG really matter? Yes, it does. She says, yes. Yeah, it does. And how did you not use... Okay, so you use the tip. So if you use the tip, doesn't that mean you use what it took to get the tip? So if you used what it took to get the tip, then what do you mean you didn't use it to make the arrest? Makes no sense.
So I was re-looking at the motion for protection order from this case from long ago. The one pertaining to the family tree and the IgG stuff. And the reason that I was looking at it again, even though it's old, is because I wanted to have that hindsight of having seen the hearing in terms of, the IgG stuff, and see if that can supplement my reading of the motion for protection order in any way. And what stood out to me particularly was this. And what they're basically trying to say here is, well, I mean, you can see what they're saying is that, Brian Koberger is not being accused of being related to somebody. He's being accused of having committed these crimes. And this is important because it is actually central to what they're saying and what they've been saying for a while, which is that, it's the consequence that matters. And at the end of the day, the DNA matches up. So focus on the fact that he's being accused of committing the crime and not being accused of being related to somebody. So I was trying to figure out, is this a reasonable argument? Is this an acceptable thing to say? And at first I thought, well, maybe. But then I decided I wanted to look at it a little bit closer, just, from an analytical perspective, especially in terms of how an investigation is supposed to work. So, in an investigation, there are a few central roles. And one of the most important roles is the role of the perpetrator. And then another important role is the role of the accused person. And it's the job of the investigator, and in a way the state, but the investigator, to show that the same person fills these two roles simultaneously. And the perpetrator is the most independent role, because it won't change. The perpetrator will always be the perpetrator. It doesn't matter if they're caught, not caught, if somebody's arrested, nobody's arrested. Whatever happens, that person will always be who they are. There's nothing we can do about it. That's just their existence. But the accused is a role that is sort of assigned and tested by law enforcement, if you will. Because it's something that starts off unknown, and then it has to be found out, and explored and confirmed. So, if you think about it, how do they go about linking this perpetrator to the eventual accused? And I think that the best way to try and understand it is that they have to find an abstract role in between these two things, and that is the suspect. Now, this role of suspect is kind of temporary, right? Because you use it to get to the accused, and then once you've gone to that next phase of things and you have your accused, then that suspect role kind of falls away. So it's transitional, it's that bridge between the perpetrator and the accused. And it's also experimental. It has to be tested, it has to be investigated, and unlike the perpetrator role, it can change. So the first part of an investigation is using the crime to find out as much as you can about the perpetrator, and then taking these characteristics and assigning them to your abstract suspect, so that you can start getting a better understanding of who you might be dealing with. And once you've done this, then you can start testing the identity of potential individuals against this abstract suspect to see if they do or don't fit. And you'll keep doing this until you find somebody who does fit. And they have to fit in a way that is beyond a reasonable doubt that the perpetrator could be anybody else but them. So, let's say you take all of the characteristics of your suspect that you've gathered from your investigation of the crime, and you literally like plot them on a graph, a line graph or something. Then the person that you are eventually going to accuse is going to be probably the person who fits the intersection of each of these characteristics. And if you try and plot your accused first and then just, draw lines around him, it's eventually going to show. You could have a perfectly valid-looking case, but with unsound facts, one would hope that it will crumble in court. Because each of these lines needs to be correct, it needs to be logical, it has to be verified. So, coming back to this, I would say yes, practically, he is just being accused of committing these 4 crimes. That's like the real world implication. And yes, I understand that a court is a real world activity. So a statement like this might be acceptable in that context. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to stand the test of logic. Because Bryan Kohberger is not only being accused of doing something, as I understand it. He is also being accused of being someone. He is being accused of being the person who fits the characteristics of the abstract suspect so perfectly that the perpetrator cannot be anybody else but him. And it is detrimental if there is an issue with one of these characteristics. Because these are the characteristics that qualify him to be the perpetrator. And they have to all fit. Look at what happens when you take away one of these characteristics. You're left with more options as to who could be your suspect. And you're going to have to start again. You're going to have to reassess something that will distinguish your eventual accused from other people that have these characteristics. Now, there's this attempt at some kind of a consequentialist kind of vibe here that, the results are the results. That's what matters. The process is just, really doesn't matter. It's the consequence that matters. At the end of the day, DNA matches up. So the consequence that matters. But, the consequence of what exactly? Because how was this even established? Specifically, what happened here? I would really like to know, what initiated this change? If you look at the hearing, Bill Thompson uses the word transferred, which makes it sound all very routine. But here, if you read the footnote, it seems more like things were left unfinished, which I would imagine is not very routine. So, I would be quite interested to know how this happened. Was the FBI invited to get involved, or were they just in the area and they were like, hey, let's help? Did the private lab encounter a problem? Or were they compelled to hand things over? Did they not want to work on this anymore? How does this work? And was this incomplete work sent to the FBI for them to finish? Or did they start over? these are important questions if you're trying to determine the accuracy of what might have gone on here. Especially, again, if you look at the behavior of Bill Thompson in the hearing, I get the impression that this here is the sore point. And Taylor tested it a little bit. She touched on it to see what happened, and I think that his behavior is indicative of the fact that there is some kind of secrecy around this. And I mean, if you think that this statement from the original motion is normal, then I really don't know what to tell you. But I will let you listen to Mr. Bill Thompson a little bit.
Work began with the private lab, and then there was a transfer to the private lab, from the private lab to the FBI, and there were also reports the private lab prepared, preliminary reports that were sent to the Idaho State Police Laboratory, and they all address the same things and overlap. And so it would be, from our perspective, because we've been trying to sort through this ourselves, we're inviting confusion for the court if you don't have everything in front of you, if you're just trying to look at this piecemeal. I mean, we're happy to give it to you however your honor wants. It's just a heads up that your review before having everything is not going to be particularly productive.
Now, would you say that what you just heard in that clip
He
is
knows
the
everything.
same as what's written here? Because that's not the impression I'm getting. I am getting the impression that from this document, I'm getting the impression that there was some kind of an issue and the FBI had to take over.
Yeah,
But
they
from the
couldn't get a
hearing,
profile.
It's kind of like, everything's fine, stop looking here. I don't
Yep.
know. Let me know if that's what you guys are feeling as well. But I think that it's important because, back to this motion, if we are looking at the state's claim that this is about protecting innocent family members who've done nothing wrong other than being related to the accused and should be protected, I can't help but wonder why that same courtesy isn't extended to Brian Koberger's father. Why is the PCA saying that he was the route to find the accused? Why are they naming and shaming? Why are they detailing how they went through his trash? Why is his face in a body cam footage? I mean, what distinguishes different types of family and what qualifies different types of family for different types of protection? Perhaps a father of the accused needs more protection than a cousin that was used in a family tree. Why is it not the same? They're not being treated the same.
Great questions.
It's not a crime to be on a family tree. It's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Great
What is
mind.
the issue?
Great mind.
And how is this okay? Anyway, as usual, let me know what you think and have a wonderful day.
Definitely needs more subs. Was only at 163 earlier. I'm not sure why. 166 now. Definitely needs more subs. I was going to go into this Law Offices of Andrew D. Myers video, the 10 head scratchers. But I'd like to wait. I think Yoli's going to be busy tonight, though. I'd like to wait until Yoli is up on panel, because I know that's one of the videos she really wanted to discuss one time. Let me see here. I'm going to go to a Scott Reich video. Then we're going to go to some of these family, family interviews. This is a Scott Reich video from a couple days ago. Let's see, where did it go? Here it is. He just talks about it for 7 or 8 minutes. And then we're going to go into some interviews and press conferences here after we check this out.
It has been 1 year. That's right. Today marks the 1 year anniversary since 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in a gruesome home invasion that has obviously grabbed the attention of everyone across the nation. Now, for those who are not familiar with the case, in the early hours of November 13th of 2022, roommates Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, and Zaina Kernodle, and Kernodle's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, were all killed inside the off-campus house there in Moscow, Idaho. Now, 2 other roommates survived the attack, and after a 6-week search for a suspect, 28-year-old Brian Koberger, who is a criminology PhD student at the nearby Washington State University, was finally arrested on December 30th at his family's home in Pennsylvania. Now, one of the surviving roommates said that she woke up around 4 a.m. on November 13th of 2022 from what sounded like Gonsalves playing with her dog in one of the 3rd floor bedrooms. Now, a short time after, the roommate said she heard who she thought was Gonsalves say something to the effect of, "There's somebody here." That's according to the police affidavits, but that could have been Kernodle on her phone because records show she was on TikTok at about 4:12 a.m. The roommate also said that she looked out of her bedroom, but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. She apparently opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room. The roommate then said that she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." This is all according to the affidavit. Now, the roommate said that she opened her door again after she heard the crying and then saw a figure in black clothing and had a mask on that covered the person's mouth and nose that was ultimately walking towards her. She described this male as 5'10", taller, not very muscular, but had an athletic build and very bushy eyebrows. The person walked past her towards the backsliding glass door as the roommate stood in a frozen shock. Now, authorities have reviewed surveillance video from the area, and they believe that they saw a suspect's white Hyundai Elantra go by the victim's home at least 3 times before entering the area for a 4th time at about 4:04 a.m. Police also say they've traced the car's travel that night back to nearby Pullman, Washington, where coincidentally Brian Koberger lived while attending Washington State University. Now, Koberger's phone was tracked heading to the Moscow area before the attack, and as the driver of the white Elantra returned to Pullman. However, the phone was turned off between the hours of 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m., which is consistent with Koberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide, according to police. Now, his phone was near the victim's house at least 12 times before the murders, as far back as August, the police report. Now, DNA evidence from the suspect was also recovered on a knife sheath on Mogan's bed. Now, Koberger is charged with the 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary, and he could ultimately face the death penalty if he's convicted. Now, Koberger's lawyers have said that their client wasn't in the home where the homicide took place and was just simply driving around alone that night. Well, back in August, Koberger waived his right to a speedy trial, which kind of indefinitely delays the process. It will definitely go, but that trial for October 2nd that was supposed to go this year has not been rescheduled yet. Anyway, the DNA discovered on the button snap of the knife sheath was found near Mogan's body is a critical piece of evidence for the prosecution. It is what is somewhat a circumstantial case. Now, the DNA authorities argue undeniably links Mr. Koberger to the crime scene, saying that the DNA showed a statistical match with a cheek swab taken directly from Koberger after his arrest. Now, Koberger's attorneys have attempted to cast some doubt on the strength of the investigators' evidence and whether it pointed irrefutably to just their client, including the DNA. And the defense has repeatedly asked for more information on the genealogical analysis used to zero in on Kohberger, and they've got that from the judge. And the analysis that the DNA is a statistical match will also be challenged. Now, Kohberger's attorneys have also highlighted what they call a complete and total lack of DNA evidence, because guess what? There's no DNA from any of the victims in Mr. Kohberger's home or car. Now, of course, the police say that he bleached his car and cleaned his residence. That's why we wouldn't do it. And of course, you must also remember the knife used in the murder has not yet been recovered. And we've also learned through unsealed search warrants that investigators are going through records of Amazon purchases and a click history data for an Amazon customer, including all detailed customer click activity pertaining to knives and accessories, as well as a long list of information that could possibly flush out the customer's full shopping movements and interests on the site, like items that maybe they were looking to purchase or maybe get at a later date. And obviously what prosecutors are trying to do is link Kohberger to the purchase of the missing knife that could have obviously, they believe, been used in the killing. That'll certainly help their case. Now, the question then becomes, what do we know about the two other roommates that survived? Now, the first one was Dylan Mortensen, and the other one is Bethany Funk. And they were both home when Brian Kohberger allegedly snuck into the house there on November 13th. Now, Mortensen even apparently came face to face with the killers just moments after the killings, according to authorities, that she figured the figure was clad in black clothing and had a mask that walked toward her just after 4 a.m. Now, the two women were also allegedly texting each other while the murders were allegedly happening, and received an onslaught of online hatred after it was revealed that no one called 911 for several hours after the quadruple slaying took place. Since then, the two roommates were spared and have kept to themselves. Now, Mortensen has been quite isolated, according to her family and friends, and Funk has kept an even lower profile and now lives out of state. She has only been heard from when her attorneys filed a motion earlier this year to dismiss a subpoena that would force her to testify as part of the murder suspect Brian Kohberger's defense. Now, Miss Funk, however, later agreed to sit down for an interview with Brian Kohberger's attorney, and it's unclear if this happened or what came of it, but she apparently did sit down for an interview. I say good for her. Now, it's still a mystery why Mortensen and Funk took so long to call the police on the night of the slayings. We don't know if it is an issue maybe of intoxication or fear, or maybe they just didn't know anything had really taken place. That was kind of a party house where people came and left, and
a lot of
came
people
and left and partied, even when the home residents weren't there. So it wasn't necessarily something where you would get surprised if somebody came in the house. Anyway, back in December, Mortensen and Funk apparently got matching tattoos on the back of their elbows to honor their murdered roommates. The first letter of each of their friends' first name surrounded by angel wings. Mortensen said her 4 roommates changed the way that she looks at life. And Miss Funk wrote that the victims were all gifts to the world in her own special way, and it will never be the same without them. Is the accused Delphi murder suspect going to get some help? Well, it looks like.
Yeah, that's another topic for another night. Oh my gosh. Delphi. Let me see here. There's some other. One second. This is J for Justice. There was you guys have been talking about the naked man theory for the last couple days a lot in chat. I'm going to share a video that she had regarding that very topic. J for Justice. Let me put that up there. We'll check out that video real quick. Discussing that theory. Like I've always said, I think Bethany has the exculpatory evidence. I don't know if it's not the whole naked man thing, but I feel like it's a description that doesn't fit Koberger. So let's see what she has to say.
Were there at the time of the attack?
All the information we have from our investigation is that yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911?
Thank you for the sub, Wet Paint.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to What's the 411 with Jay. I am Jay, your host, and today I want to talk about what's going on in the Brian Koberger case and the latest with the surviving roommate, Bethany Funk. So let's review some of the things that we have seen and have been leaked into the media, because when you piece them together, they tell a little bit of a story. So here's the first article. It was Funk who found the bloodied bodies of her 3 housemates, and she has argued she should not have to appear because she now lives in Nevada, not Idaho. That was what stuck out to me. And through her lawyers, she slapped down the foreign subpoena and said a judge must have a hearing before Funk can be required to testify. And then if you go down, it says one of the survivors allegedly heard a commotion and witnessed a masked man exit through a rear sliding door, according to a police affidavit. The second survivor, in this case, Funk, is alleged to have heard or saw things that could clear the suspect, according to Batanti's affidavit.
Yes.
Batanti argues that the information Funk possesses is unique to her experience and cannot be provided by another witness.
Yes.
The next one, and these are all from mainstream media sources. Investigator Richard Batanti, who is working for Ann Taylor, Mr. Koberger's lawyer, has subpoenaed Miss Funk to appear at the accused killer's hearing on June 28th. Now, the hearing's going from June 26th until June 30th. That is what they have slotted, and they have her wanting to come on the second day. So what is that? I don't know why. Why wouldn't they want her there on the first day if she has something that could exonerate Mr. Koberger? But more importantly, according to the affidavit, she allegedly witnessed a naked man run through a rear sliding door. She lived on the first floor of the home and came face to face with the alleged killer. So this is what has been leaked about the affidavit that Richard Batanti put out. Hold on. So we have Bethany. This is from The Mirror. The Mirror UK. So according to The Mirror, Richard Batanti's affidavit filed in Nevada has Bethany witnessing a naked man running through a rear sliding door. I don't know if this is accurate because the affidavit is behind, it's sealed. But allegedly, this is what The Mirror is reporting. If Bethany saw a naked man run through the rear sliding door, how was she on the first floor? Well, we were lied to and told they were both sleeping all that morning. Let's revisit that, and then we'll come back to that.
Right.
So there were, sorry, I'm Emma Epperly with this Folks Interview. Hi. So there were other roommates who lived at that residence. Were the roommates home at the time of the attack?
There was other people home at that time, but we're not just focusing just on them. We're focusing on everybody that may be coming and going from that residence.
So since they were home, was it a hostage situation?
No, it was not.
And then they didn't call it into police. So were they injured?
They were not injured. But like I said, we're still following up with everybody that could have been in that area.
I know you said when the call came in, it was for an unconscious person, and also that was a stabbing. It seems, just from an outside perspective looking in, like that would be not the first thing a person calling in would think.
You're right. But the report that we got was that it was an unconscious individual. It wasn't until our officers arrived on scene, went in to do caregiving check on the individual who was unconscious that we found the scene that we found.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Heather Roberts with ABC News. Just to follow up on what she asked. So the other two roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information that we have from our investigation is that, yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So that's why we're investigating everything still to try to pull all the pieces together.
Were they one of the people, were they the 911 caller?
At this point in time, I'm not going to divulge who our 911 caller is, just because I want to keep the integrity of the investigation at this point. Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me, Derek Shug, Fox News Digital. Was there anything missing in the home, or were the purses still there? Any robbery attempt, anything like that?
Nothing that we have identified.
Hi, I'm Tim with the Daily Evergreen. I was just wondering, were the two other individuals present at the home when police responded at noon?
Yes.
Okay.
Chief, if you don't mind elaborating a bit more on those two people. Was it two people? What have those people shared about the circumstances of that night, what they saw or didn't see?
Well, I'm not going to go into what they shared that night. Obviously, that's part of our investigation. That's part of the information that we're trying to build our complete story with. So as far as that goes, we're not going to go any further into what they know and what they don't know.
How many were there?
We believe 2.
Wow. After revisiting that footage, this case seems even more mysterious than it did before. I mean, mysterious is being kind. This is downright puzzling. And apparently you guys were not alone, because the media was picking up on this weirdness at that press conference.
1:45 a.m. The 2 surviving roommates had also been in the community, but returned around 1 a.m. On the morning of November 13th, a 911 call was made at 11:58 a.m., reporting an unconscious person at the residence. The call came from inside the home from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. Moscow police responded and found 2 victims on the 2nd floor and 2 victims on the 3rd floor.
Now that we know that Bethany does not want to testify and has a lawyer speaking on her behalf, what do you think is the reason for that? Some people think she's scarred. She's emotionally traumatized. Others think she has something to hide. I personally feel if my friends were brutally murdered, I would be there with bells on to put that perpetrator behind bars.
Yep.
Sometimes your mind and body just take over in those situations. And somehow we're able to put our fears aside when there's something more important that needs to be accomplished, like justice in a quadruple murder. News. So here's one more article. An affidavit filed in March by a criminal investigator supporting Koberger's defense says Funk was in a first-floor bedroom of the apartment house during the early morning of the murders on November 13th. Funk was, quote, interviewed by police on several occasions. She disclosed things she heard and things she saw.
What's up, Kai?
Bethany Funk has information material to the charges against Mr. Koberger. Portions of information Ms. Funk has is exculpatory to the defendant. Ms. Funk's information is unique to her experiences and cannot be provided by another witness. That's straight from the affidavit, guys. If that is true, that Bethany saw a naked man, they did not mention anything about Bethany other than she was there and she was sleeping on the first floor. But you can't see someone going out the back door if you're down on the first floor. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's hop out of that rabbit hole, take off our tinfoil hats, and continue on our day. Stay safe, and I will see you guys soon.
Here's that article. And we'll go ahead and read that article again. So there's the link if you'd like to have it for yourself. The Mirror article. We're going to be getting into that press conference too. The first one. We'll do that after this. This is the Mirror article. This was from April 25th, 2023. This is when they were trying to get Bethany. They wanted to subpoena her, get her to talk. And then all that secret shit happened. April 25th, 2023. Surviving roommate in University of Idaho crime begs not to face unaliver in court. The surviving roommate in the University of Idaho crime has begged not to appear at the suspect's hearing. Bethany Funk, 21, was at her rental home in Moscow, Idaho, when Kaylee Gonsalves, 21, Xander Canodal, 20, Ethan Chapin, 20, Maddie Mogan, 21, were unalived on November 13th, 2022. Suspect, 28-year-old Brian Koberger, a former criminology student, has been charged with 4 counts of first-degree unaliving and burglary. He faces a preliminary hearing in the week of June 26th, where prosecutors will begin presenting evidence, with the accused yet to enter a plea, according to authorities. This is back on April 25th. However, one of the 2 survivors, Miss Funk, allegedly heard or witnessed things which could potentially exonerate the suspect. Investigator Richard Bittanti, who was working for Ann Taylor, Mr. Koberger's lawyer, has subpoenaed Miss Funk to appear at the accused unaliver's hearing on June 28th. According to the affidavit, she allegedly witnessed a naked man run through a rear sliding door. She lived on the first floor of the home and came face to face with the alleged unaliver. She is alleged to have heard or saw things which could clear the suspect, as Mr. Bittanti argued, will be a crucial witness. Mr. Koberger's lawyers claim Ms. Funk has exculpatory information that is material and necessary to the alleged unaliver's defense. If she refuses to appear, she could face a potential 500 or 25 days in jail. Mr. Bittanti wrote in an affidavit, during the course of my investigation, it became known to me that she, BF, has information material to the charges against Mr. Koberger. According to police, it was Miss Funk who found the bodies of her housemates, but she is now disputing the request to appear, as she now lives in Nevada and not Idaho. Her lawyer wrote, there is no authority for an Idaho criminal defendant to summon a Nevada witness to an Idaho matter without a hearing, and there is no authority to summon a Nevada witness to an Idaho matter without a Nevada judge making and finding of material necessity and the lack of undue hardship. Ms. Funk's legal team has rejected the foreign subpoena, which was issued on April 11th, as they believe a judge must have a hearing before she can be forced to testify. Maybe she just doesn't want to be the one. Maybe she just doesn't want to be. Everybody's so gung-ho on Kohberger being guilty. Maybe she doesn't want to be the one that gives the information where they don't have a frickin' suspect anymore. You know? Think about it, with all of the pro-guilt Kohberger out there, can you imagine if her testimony blew up the case to where he was found not guilty because of reason of insanity? Don't you think all those people are going to be like, it's your fault, it's your fault? Maybe that's why she doesn't want. She wants justice to happen, but she doesn't want it to happen at her expense. I don't know. Because it's like what we just heard. If that was your friend, no matter who did the crime, wouldn't you want to give up all of what you could give up to get the person that committed the crime against your friend? Of course. Why would you want to be quiet? Why would you want to be quiet? Mr. Kohberger's defense has asked the court to make Ms. Funk provide testimony as they try to challenge the probable cause used to justify his arrest. Right. The suspect is currently being held in a maximum security cell at Latah County Jail in Moscow, Idaho, as he awaits his preliminary hearing. We drove by that too. So here's the article. Oh yeah, I can't wait for this trial. Nina. Yeah, we brought up that movie when the case first came out. If you go to the Huey Lewis scene of American Psycho, that's what we talked about way in the beginning. I'm a fan of Huey Lewis, and I remember that movie, and I was like, yeah, you remember that scene when they were talking about Huey Lewis, and the dude had on like a suit, that vinyl suit? Because to me, I was like, how in the hell does somebody commit this crime and you have no idea how the person exited? They must have been wearing some American Psycho vinyl kit. If you know what I'm talking about. Huey Lewis. Love Huey Lewis. Love Huey Lewis. But yeah, that's the scene talking about Huey Lewis. Good stuff. All right. So, give me 1 second. Let me see here. I was going to give you guys a choice. 1 second. Top 5 issues delaying. Let me see here. Okay. Shit, where did that go? YouTube's being funky right now. There it is. All right. So this is the press conference. Moscow police hold the press conference about the student crime. This is from KTVB. Okay. Come around at 8. Well, here, frozen shock. I don't know. But this is the thing though. Okay. How in the hell, if BF is supposedly downstairs, how in the hell does she see a naked man running out the sliding glass door unless she goes up the stairs and looks? And really, I don't know how you can see somebody leaving a sliding glass door from the top of the stairs. You almost have to be following behind. Because that walkway in between where DM's room is, the good vibe light sign wall, and then the stairs, the wall with the stairs going upstairs, that's a tight spot. Who's deleting comments? Damn, what's going on? Yeah, Devil Doll didn't say. Okay, I was gonna say detective. I was like, Devil Doll didn't say nothing bad. I was like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, sorry. Like, what the hell's going on? All right, so this is the press conference when the crime took place. This is the local TV station. They picked up on this stuff from the very beginning. The local TV station, KTVB, right from the beginning, both the guy behind the desk and the guy that was out at the property were both like, we're not understanding this. The community doesn't understand this. This doesn't make sense. They're not telling us anything. It was like that from the very beginning. In fact, let me play those, and then we'll play this. This is the press conference. You know what? Let me play those real quick, because it's very important. These two videos were right before this one. Right here. We'll just play this one. Just listen to their frustration.
Okay, so
and this guy right here, you can tell he's frustrated. Just pay attention. Both of them are frustrated. Shit doesn't make sense. They're not being told anything. Just listen to the words.
Okay, so the big news story over the past couple of days has been the homicide investigation happening in Moscow. An unthinkable tragedy within the University of Idaho community. Crime is an element of this industry we don't usually cover here on the 208, but there's an element of this story that has been stoking frustration, both up in the small college town and down in the Treasure Valley, with families who have kids going to the school at the University of Idaho. The biggest component has been a lack of information coming from investigators. And here's what we do know. Just before noon on Sunday, Moscow police got a phone call, a report of an unconscious person in a house off King Road. When they got there, they found 4 U of I students dead, killed, they believe, with a knife or some sort of edged weapon. We know the FBI is now involved. We know no weapon has been found and nobody has been arrested. Nobody is in custody, yet the city and the police have said there also wasn't any threat to the Moscow community, believing this to be an isolated, targeted attack. It's that last part that has a lot of people confused and questioning how this is possible. There's apparently someone walking around willing and able to use a knife to kill 4 people, but that threat ends inside that house? The university president has told students and staff if they need to go home, they can. Their absence from class would be excused. Around willing and able to use a knife to kill 4 people, but that threat ends inside that house? The university president has told students and staff if they need to go home, they can. Their absence from class would be excused a week before Thanksgiving break. And that may
Freaking StreamYard. Yeah, and the president saying everybody can go home. People that possibly committed the crime. Go home, go home. Why? Why are you telling people they can go home? No, y'all need to stay here and we need to figure this out. Especially when you have a whole bunch of students there before LE even shows up, before first responders even show up. You have a whole bunch of people there. No, don't go home. Stay the fuck here. Let's figure it out.
believing this to be an isolated, targeted attack.
Stay the fuck here.
It's that last part that has a lot of people confused and questioning how this is possible. There's apparently someone walking around willing and able to use a knife to kill 4 people, but that threat ends inside that house? The university president has told students and staff if they need to go home, they can. Their absence from class would be excused a week before Thanksgiving break. And that may have put a damper on some fears, but it hasn't helped answer many of the questions or with the frustration in trying to find them. Andrew Bartline is live in Moscow right now. And Andrew, we just wanted to talk to you today about the mood. You've been up there since yesterday, the mood in Moscow, and that can't be easy, seeing as so many took the president up on his offer of leaving town.
I bet they did.
Yeah, and that was the first thing we saw when we pulled in. We were kind of late to the game because a lot of the stations up here covering this are in Spokane. We had a long drive to get here, and by the time we got here, people mostly had left. We did talk to a woman as she was getting out of her house, packing her car. She lives right next door. She said she was the last of her 6 roommates to leave town. She's driving one of her roommates to the airport, and then she's driving back home to Homedale, Idaho. So a lot of people in this neighborhood are gone. Campus is quiet, and we talked to students who are still here. They say that academically they feel they need to be here for their own reasons, but a lot of them said that they don't understand how these data points connect to where they're safe, but no suspect is in custody. It's a difficult data points to make sense of, Brian.
Up there, Moscow police and the city, they're not beholden to the media when it comes to what they can and can't tell us, but there are families up there with students who want to know what's going, whether their kids are safe, for those that kind of stuck behind. So what's been the difficulty in getting information from law enforcement?
Well, I mean, we've gone to the police department and tried to talk to them face to face. They say the captain's not there, who's sort of in charge of being the public information officer for this investigation. So we come to the scene and ask the people on scene, is the captain here? They say the captain's not here. And it's difficult to get a hold of him through phone call because if he's not in the office, but when we're at the police department, we're certainly not answering his phone there either. There was a moment earlier today where that captain went through and called back a lot of media members and answered some questions, but a lot of the details still weren't sorted out. Really all we got confirmed from that phone phone call was they are looking for a suspect. And it kind of started and stopped there. There wasn't a whole lot more other than that. I guess we do now know that the unconscious person that they originally responded to is among those 4 that are dead. We did get that confirmed as well.
Yeah, the unconscious person wasn't DM. They weren't responding because DM was supposedly passed out. That's the only one thing that they were able to get confirmed.
Among those 4 that are dead, we did get that confirmed as well. But that's and that. I guess we do now know that the unconscious person that they originally responded to is among those 4 that are dead. We did get that confirmed as well. But
And that's it. Hush, hush, hush. Students, go home. Go home. Yeah, go home. It's okay. All right. We're going to get into this press conference. And we see everybody talk. We see Scott Green talk. We see the guy with the movie star hair. Chief Fry. ISP. You know. All rolled up into one. Thank you all for hanging out tonight. I appreciate you so much. Definitely, if you didn't check out those PCA route videos that I dropped earlier, definitely go check them out. 2 versions. 1, no commentary, no audio, full screen for you and everybody. And also, 1 with commentary, because I kind of explain different things as we're going through the trip, showing different things as well. So there's 2 versions. 1, strictly footage. 2, commentary. Definitely check them out. All right. This is the press conference from when the crimes took place. This is KTVB. This was November 16th, 2022.
The news conference is starting as we speak. We understand that officials have taken the podium right now. Let's check in there.
Everybody here? My name is Chief James Fry with the Moscow Police Department. I'm going to be reading from my notes today because I want the information you received to be extremely accurate. We know you have questions, and so do we. That is why we're here. I'd like to thank everyone for attending this press conference. Joining me today is the Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson, University of Idaho President Scott Green, Provost and Vice President Tori Lawrence, University of Idaho Dean of Students Blaine Eccles, Latah County Sheriff Richie Skiles, Chief Deputy of Latah County Tim Best, Idaho State Police Colonel Kedrick Wills. The Moscow Police Department would like to extend our condolences to all family members, friends, the University of Idaho, and the Moscow community. This was a horrible crime that took the lives of Ethan Chapman, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves. This horrible crime has affected all of us, the families, the University of Idaho, our community, our country, and our officers. Agencies that are involved in this task force include Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. As we continue our investigation, we have learned that Ethan and Xana were at a party on campus, and Madison and Kaylee were at a downtown bar. They arrived home sometime after 1:45. If anyone in our community or across our nation has any information about these times or the victim's whereabouts, please call our tip line at 208-883-7180. The facts of the case that that we know right now. We know that these homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Around noon, Moscow officers received a call of an unconscious person. Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves inside the residence on King Road. The four were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time. There was no sign of forced entry into the residence. Investigators are continuing to collect evidence at the scene. Investigators are working to develop a timeline to relevant events. Autopsies are taking place today on all the victims so we can continue to gather evidence and solve the crime. Investigators are working to follow up on all leads and to identify a person of interest. Based on details at the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times. On all the victims, so we can continue to gather evidence and solve the crime. Investigators are working to follow up on all leads and to identify a person of interest. Based on details at the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant,
They cannot
report any
say.
suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times. What we do know, or what we don't know, excuse me, the identity and location of the suspect, the location of the knife or any clothing that was worn by the suspect. Currently, we have 25 plus investigators working this case, as well as assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Idaho State Police. We're reviewing video that has been collected, but we are asking citizens to contact us with any information you may have that will help in this investigation. Once again, we're asking anyone with a tip to call the tip line at 208-883-7180. At this time, I would like to introduce the University of Idaho President, Scott Green.
Thank you, Chief Fry. I'm Scott Green, President of the University of Idaho, and with me is Tori Lawrence. He's our Provost, and Blaine Eccles, our Dean of Students, will be available for questions after all of the statements are made. The crime, to us, this crime and the loss of these young lives is just simply beyond comprehension. While our small community is certainly not immune to such things, it's not a situation our close-knit campus is used to dealing with. First, my deepest condolences to the families. And friends of Ethan, Kaylee, Xana, and Madison. Excuse me. Their loss has been devastating, and they were bright lights in our community, and are deeply missed and remain in our thoughts and our prayers. We've been working with Moscow police since we were notified on Sunday of the crime.
Fix your glasses, but not wipe your eye. Huh?
We've helped when asked and continually pushed for information whenever possible, knowing that we cannot interfere with the important work and good investigations that are occurring. We just want justice for these victims. Our focus at the university is to support our students and our employees. We are encouraging students and employees to take care of themselves as we head into Thanksgiving break. I want to take a moment to commend our faculty and staff who have been on the front lines helping our students, whether that is providing counseling to those in need of support, accommodating those who want to travel home, or engaging those who find comfort in staying busy interacting with their peers and our instructors in class. Our employees stepped up when our students needed them. While we have relied heavily on the expertise of Moscow Police, we feel confident that remaining open with flexibility to leave allows our students to decide what is best for them. The weeks ahead will continue to challenge us as this loss and the circumstances around this crime become known. We will support each other as we grieve, and we'll move through this together as a Vandal family. Thank you.
I would like to have Colonel Kedrick Wills come to the podium, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Kedrick Wills. I serve as the director of the Idaho State Police. And as we have this discussion today, I'd like to express my appreciation for your attendance here, because it's important, vitally important, that we get the information that we have out to the public. Crime knows no boundaries, and these murders have shaken us to our very core. You heard the university president as well as the chief of police talk about this small community, and it's a very close, tight-knit community. And our hearts break for the families that lost their loved ones, the University of Idaho, the Moscow community, and even within our entire state. Be assured, the Idaho State Police is firmly in support of the work that the Moscow Police Department is doing, and we are providing every resource that we can to make sure that this comes to a conclusion, and with the person or people that this is responsible are brought to justice. It's so important that you understand that this takes a team effort. This is teamwork with the university, with this Moscow City Police Department, the Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It takes everybody to be able to do this, and it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act of getting the community the information that they need to have with making sure that we provide a case that the Latah County Prosecutor's Office can go forward with. Governor Little, Idaho's governor, has assured me that the full weight of all the resources we have within our state are available to Chief Fry and to his team. Our crime lab is also involved with processing evidence, and our law enforcement throughout the region, state and federal agencies continue to provide resources. From the Idaho State Police's perspective, we provided detectives here from this area, as well as detectives from out of the area, state police detectives, as well as patrol resources and communication assistance as well to provide for Chief Fry and his team. Following this briefing, our communications director from the Idaho State Police, Aaron Snell, if you'd raise your hand, Aaron, he will be the contact for all press media inquiries from here on out. He'll be working closely with Chief Fry and his team. And we have additional, like I said, additional.
Yeah, deflect all the bullshit to that guy. Right?
Patrol and investigation resources.
He's the guy.
As well.
He's
we
the guy.
Want to do everything we can to make sure that this is done correctly and that the people that are responsible for this are brought to justice.
So at this time, I'm going to open it up to some questions that I'm sure you have, and we'll do the best we can to answer those for you.
Hello, Chief Ray.
Hello.
Thank you for having us. I'm Amanda Rowley with Creme 2 News. You mentioned that there's an indication that it's an isolated, targeted incident, and there is an individual somewhere. Can you give us a reason as to why there's that belief there is a suspect? And can you also give a little more information on the forced entry? There's no sign of forced entry, but was the door, did it seem like any of the entries were left unlocked by any means?
I'll answer the last part there just because it's at the front end of my mind. We're not 100% sure if the door was unlocked, but there was no damage to anything, and the door was still open when we got there.
And my first question,
Yeah.
if you'd like me to read.
No, I think I haven't. In these cases, we take the totality of the things that we see, and they're very dynamic, right? And they're very big, and there's a lot of information, and we try to take that information, and some of it we can't share with you, correct? But we try to take that information, we try to make the best educated decision we can. We review that as a team with our detectives, along with our prosecutors, along with the university, and we try to make that best decision on that. So we, at that time, believe that there was no a threat, and our goal is to provide safety for this community. That's why we're bringing in the resources we're bringing. We want a close to this, and we want to do everything we can to let the people in our community know that we care. We want them to feel safe. We want them to be safe, and we're going to do everything we can to do that.
If I could add one more question. You asked for videos or anything from the community to help put together that timeline. We obtained a copy of Twitch video, and family members of the Gonsalves family were able to identify Maddie and Kaylee in those videos at a food truck ordering food. Is the police department, our investigators, aware of that video, and has it helped put together that timeline?
We are aware of that video, and it has helped. It gives us a time and space where we know that two of our victims were, and that helps us a ton, and we'll continue to follow up all leads that we can and continue to gather those.
Any indication of a party at the home that night?
This will be the last one, okay? I understand. Not that we know of, not at the home. We know that the other, let me get the names exactly.
Yeah, Fumbaloo.
And it has helped. It gives us a time and space where we know that, let the people in our community know that we care. We want them to feel safe. We want them to be safe. And we're going to do everything we can to do that.
If I could add.
Yeah, they want to make sure that the money cow doesn't leave the pasture.
One more question. You asked for videos or anything from the community to help put together that timeline. We obtained a copy of Twitch video, and family members of the Gonsalves family were able to identify Maddie and Kaylee in those videos at a food truck ordering food. Is the police department, our investigators, aware of that video, and has it helped put together that timeline?
We are aware of that video, and it has helped. It gives us a time and space where we know that two of our victims were, and that helps us a ton, and we'll continue to follow up all leads that we can and continue to gather those.
Any indication of a party at the home that night?
This will be the last one, okay? I understand. Not that we know of, not at the home. We know that the other, let me get the names exactly right here. We know that Zaina and Ethan were at a different party on campus. But that timeline will still help us if other people know about that.
Thank you.
Chief Wright, John Webb with KHQ. On September 12th, there was a vandal alert that was sent out about a potential stabbing threat on Paradise Path. Does this have any connection with what we've seen so far?
Not that we know of it, but we're following up every lead. Every piece of information we get, we are following up to ensure that.
If you guys remember that, the Paradise Path incident with the knife, we've talked about it from way back then.
About that.
Thank you.
Great question.
Chief Wright, John Webb with KHQ. On September 12th, there was a vandal alert that was sent out about a potential stabbing threat on Paradise Path. Does this have any connection with what we've seen so far?
Not that we know of it, but we're following up every lead. Every piece of information we get, we are following up to ensure that nothing has gone unturned. We want to have the individual identified, who is the suspect of this eventually. So we are literally looking into every aspect of everything.
And you guys have said repeatedly that there's no threat to the public, but we don't know who the suspect is. We don't know where he's at. How is there no threat to the public at this point?
Well,
Yeah.
It's kind of an unknown. Like I said, we took the information that we had at the time, but we do need to be aware the individual is still out there, right? We need to be vigilant. We need to watch out for our neighbors. We're a community policing community. We've said that for years.
He didn't answer the question, and it was a very good question. All of these pressers, I remember back when we were watching these, when they were having presser after presser, I remember watching these live and coming away going, they're not answering shit. These reporters are asking great questions and they're deflecting, changing the subject, not even answering it. Listen to this one right here. Very good question. Both very good
On
questions.
September 12th, there was a vandal alert that was sent out about a potential stabbing threat on.
Not that we know of it, but we're following up every lead. Every piece of information we get, we are following up to want to have the individual identified, who is the suspect of this eventually. So we are literally looking into every aspect of everything.
And you guys have said repeatedly that there's no threat to the public, but we don't know who the suspect is. We don't know where he's at.
Repeatedly, no threat to the public. How?
Well, that's kind of an unknown. Like I said, we took the information.
He's asking you, how are you coming to the conclusion that there's no threat to the public when you don't even know who it is?
Looking into every aspect of everything.
And you guys have said repeatedly that there's no threat to the public, but we don't know who the suspect is. We don't know where he's at. How is there no threat to the public at this point?
Well, that's kind of an unknown. Like I said, we took the information that we had at the time, but we do need to be aware the individual is still out there, right? We need to be vigilant. We need to watch out for our neighbors. We're a community policing community. We've said that for years, and it's a community that watches out for each other. We need to continue to do that until we can close this off and make an arrest.
So then answer the fucking question and don't tell the public that they have nothing to worry about. Why do you need the public to police the public if there's nothing to worry about? Why do you need the public to help keep the public safe? Make no damn sense.
Why has there been such limited information over the past couple of days? I mean, we're almost
Right,
4 days into
Katrina.
this. Why has it
Therefore,
been so
there
limited?
was a threat.
Yeah, it's a difficult. We have a lot of information coming in, and we have tried to push out some information through press releases. But the reality is, I probably should have been standing here a day or so ago, but I'm here now. We're going to continue to be here. We're going to continue to give you the information we can. We care about this community. I care about this community. I've worked here for 27 years. I want this community to be the safest community around. So
The mayor's called it a crime of passion. Is there any indication that that's true?
we're looking into every aspect of this. I'm not going to stipulate whether it's one thing or another. We're going to continue to investigate until we have the facts, because really it's the facts that will drive what the cause of this is. And as we gather evidence, we'll get that. So.
Okay. One last question, if I could, Chief. Have we looked at any boyfriends or any ex-boyfriends, any spouses as a potential suspect?
I will tell you, we're looking at everyone. Every tip we get, every lead we get, there's no one that we're not going to talk to. There's no one we're not going to interview. There's no one that we're not going to look into. And we're going to do our due diligence. We're going to make sure that nothing goes unturned, and that we do everything we can with the assistance of all the resources we have to get a final answer.
Okay, thanks, Chief Wright.
So there were, sorry, I'm Emma Ep.392 with this Folks Interview. Hi. So there were other roommates who lived at that residence. Were the roommates home at the time of the attack?
There was other people home at that time, but we're not just focusing just on them. We're focusing on everybody that may be coming and going from that residence.
So since they were home, was it a hostage situation?
No, it was not.
And then they didn't call it into police, so were they injured?
They were not injured, but like I said, we're still following up with everybody that could have been in that area.
And how can you say it's a targeted attack if you don't have a suspect?
Great questions.
Like I said, we take the totality of the situation. We try to make the best bit of information we can with everything that comes in, and then we make our decision off of that. So at this time, I'm not going to expand upon that. But like I've said, we do have a suspect out somewhere, and we are looking for that individual to solve this.
Hi, Rachel Sun, Northwest Public Broadcasting. I just want to clarify something you said earlier. Over the past couple of days, the information that we've been getting is there's not a threat to the public. Then earlier, I heard you say you can't be sure that there is no threat. I just want to clarify what your
Yeah.
stance is on that at this time.
Yeah.
So we we still believe it's a targeted attack, but the reality is there's still a person out there who committed 4 horrible crimes. So I think we got to go back to there is a threat out there still, possibly. We don't know. We don't believe it's going to be to anybody else, but we all have to be aware of our surroundings and make sure that we're watching out for each other.
Okay, and then one other follow-up. I know you said when the call came in, it was
Again, we have to make sure that we're watching out for each other. I'm just not even really going to answer the question.
There was other people home at that time, but we're not just focusing just on them. We're focusing on everybody that may be coming and going from that resident.
Yeah, so all the students, go ahead and go home. Go ahead and go home. Go ahead. It's not just about the people that were there. Let me see. Maybe we should. Just maybe. No, let's have them all go
Get a
home.
final answer.
Thanks, Chief Fry.
Let's have them all go home.
So there were, sorry, I'm Emma Ep.392 with this Folks Interview. Hi. So there were other roommates who lived at that residence. Were the roommates home at the time of the attack?
There was other people home at that time, but we're not just focusing just on them. We're focusing on everybody that may be coming
Everybody.
and going from that residence.
Or
So
go,
since
yeah,
they were
just
home,
go.
was it a hostage situation?
Just go.
No, it was not.
And then they didn't call it into police, so were they injured?
They were not injured, but like I said, we're still following up with everybody that could have been in that area.
And how can you say it's a targeted attack if you don't have a suspect?
Like I said, we take the totality of the situation. We try to make the best bit of information we can with everything that comes in, and then we make our decision off of that. So at this time, I'm not going to expand upon that. But like I've said, we do have a suspect out somewhere, and we are looking for that individual to solve this.
Not answering.
Hi, Rachel Sun, Northwest Public Broadcasting. I just want to clarify something you said earlier. Over the past couple of days, the information that we've been getting is there's not a threat to the public. And earlier, I heard you say you can't be sure that there is no threat. I just want to clarify what your stance is on that at this time.
Yeah, what is it?
So we did believe,
because you didn't answer the question earlier too. This is what I'm saying. Great questions. Great questions. Great questions. Every freaking press conference. I remember sitting there watching them with everybody, and we're just sitting there, and I'm just like, what? Huh? Like, great questions. They're not being answered. Why are they not answering these questions?
we still believe it's a targeted attack, but the reality is there's still a person out there who committed 4 horrible crimes. So I think we got to go back to there is a threat out there still, possibly. We don't know. We don't believe it's going to be to anybody else, but we all have to be aware of our surroundings and make sure that we're watching out for each other.
Okay, and then one other follow-up. I know you said when the call came in, it was for an unconscious person, and also that was a stabbing. It seems, just from an outside perspective looking in, like that would be not the first thing a person calling in would think.
You're right. But the report that we got was that it was an unconscious individual. It wasn't until our officers arrived on scene, went in to do caregiving check on the individual who was unconscious, that we found the scene that we found.
Okay.
A caregiving check. When you look at the amnesty law in Idaho, if you call it in as an OD, you have amnesty. Whether it ends up being an OD or not, you have amnesty. Whether there's paraphernalia at the property, you have amnesty. With the amount of overdoses that have been going on and were going on, not only in the country, but in that area as well. Be something easy to look up. It didn't take long to look it up. Simple Google search. They went as a caregiver check.
Believe it's a targeted attack. But the reality is there's still a person out there who committed 4 horrible, horrible crimes. So I think
That was
we
a
gotta go back
deflection
to,
earlier. Okay.
There is a threat out there still, possibly. We don't know. We don't believe it's going to be to anybody else, but we all have to be aware of our surroundings.
We don't know if it's going to be anybody else, but again, we all have to be aware of our surroundings. We all have to be vigilant. We all have to protect ourselves. We've been saying it for years. Yada, yada, yada. Why again are you going to tell people that the community has nothing to worry about when you keep saying to the community that you don't even know if it's true?
Believe it's a targeted attack. But the reality is there's still a person out there who committed 4 horrible, horrible crimes. So I think we got to go back to there is a threat out there still, possibly. We don't know. We don't believe it's going to be to anybody else, but we all have to be aware of our surroundings and make sure that we're watching out for each other.
We don't know, but we
Okay,
believe.
and then one other follow-up. I know you said when the call came in, it was for an unconscious person, and also that was a stabbing. It seems, just from an outside perspective looking in, like that would be not the
making
first thing
sense, right?
a person calling in would think.
You're right. But the report that we got was that it was an unconscious individual. It wasn't until our officers arrived on scene, went in to do caregiving check on the individual who was unconscious, that we found the scene that we found.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That was confirmed to the local TV station that it was called for one of the victims that had passed. So listen to that one more time.
One other follow-up. I know you said when the call came in, it was for an unconscious person, and also that was a stabbing. It seems, just from an outside perspective looking in, like that would be not the first thing a person calling in would think.
You're right. But the report that we got was that it was an unconscious individual. It wasn't until our officers arrived on scene, went in to do caregiving check on the individual who was unconscious, that we found the scene that we found.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Heather Roberts with ABC News. Just to follow up on what she asked. So the other 2 roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information that we have from our investigation is that yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So that's why we're investigating everything still, to try to pull all the pieces together.
Were they one of the people, were they the 911 caller?
At this point in time, I'm not going to divulge who our 911 caller is, just because I want to keep the integrity of the investigation at this point. Okay.
Okay. And last question, are you able to tell whether the same weapon was used on all 4 victims?
That's why we're having the autopsies done. The autopsy will confirm that and hopefully collect some evidence for us, even from those. That's why you do the autopsies, is to try to be thorough and try to gather more. So we'll leave that would probably be something that would come out later.
Excuse me, Derek Shug, Fox News Digital. Was there anything missing in the home, or were the purses still there? Any robbery attempt, anything like that?
Nothing that we have identified. And I'm going to take about 2 more questions, all right?
Hi, I'm Tim with the Daily Evergreen. I was just wondering, were the 2 other individuals present at the home when police responded at noon?
Yes.
Chief, if you don't mind elaborating a bit more on those 2 people. Was it 2 people? What have those people shared about the circumstances of that night, what they saw or didn't see?
Well, I'm not going to go into what they shared that night. Obviously, that's part of our investigation. That's part of the information that we're trying to build our complete story with. So at that, as far as that goes, we're not going to go any further into what they know and what they don't know.
How many were there?
We believe 2.
Chief, have you looked into the social media
We believe 2.
victims, and do you? We understand that one may have had an account linked to her Instagram account. Have you looked into those accounts? Have you seen any sort of threats made to any of the individuals?
So we are looking at all resources. You know, we got, like I said, the Federal Bureau of Investigation helping us. We got our detectives, our forensic detectives looking into that. We're trying to pull this whole picture. We're looking at everything that we can look at, social media, etc. So to answer your question, yes, we are.
Were the victims all found in one part of the house?
I'm not going to divulge that either. That's part of our investigation.
Right, everybody? Especially 3 days after the crime takes place, you should frickin' know. But in another press conference after this, they still didn't know how many people were out in front of the property when they showed up. After this one. After. We're not exactly sure. Another press conference after this one. We've heard reports. Can you confirm? We're not exactly sure. What?
An account linked to her Instagram account. Have you looked into those accounts? Have you seen any sort of threats made to any of the individuals?
So we are looking at all resources. You know, we got, like I said, the Federal Bureau of Investigation helping us. We got our detectives, our forensic detectives looking into that. We're trying to pull this whole picture. We're looking at everything that we can look at, social media, etc. So to answer your question, yes, we are.
Were the victims all found in one part of the house?
I'm not going to divulge that either. That's part of our investigation. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and close this off. But if you'd like to, if you have any questions for the university,
let me see who I can
we'll open
deflect
that up
this
at this
to.
point in time.
You just deflected that shit.
Who has not had a chance to ask a question? Yes, over here. Yes.
Oh, okay, thanks. Actually, I had a question for the chief, so I don't know.
Okay, well, you want to pass it?
Okay.
What is the university doing to make their students feel safe?
Yeah, great question. At this time, I think I'll turn this over to Blaine, who's been dealing directly with our students and dealing with those that truly still feel unsafe despite some of the assurances and things that we're doing. Blaine?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. A question of safety is on everyone's mind right now. We have increased campus safety patrols. Our executive director of campus safety and security, Jake Nichols, is out in the hallway actually here, and so I'm sure he'd be able to answer some of those questions. We have a campus safety escort where students can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to arrange for a security escort to be escorted across campus during the day or night. It doesn't matter at any point in time. We're also providing resources to students to help them navigate through this from an emotional standpoint. We've had drop-in counseling that has been utilized both in our counseling center as well as the student union building. And we're also supporting students, like President Green indicated, that if they want to leave and go home now, they absolutely can. We're going to support them in doing so. Many students have questions about their academics and whatnot, but this is a very dynamic, fluid situation, and we want to make sure we're supporting students and their families.
Yeah, we still have another week and a half before Thanksgiving, but go home. Not stay the fuck here. Let's interview everybody. Let's figure it out. Then go ahead. Yeah, let's shut down classes. Let's bring everybody in. Let's talk about what the hell took place. No, go home. Go home. Go home. Go home.
To get through this the way that they need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Washington State University is about 8 miles that way. What would you suggest that Wazoo does to make their students feel safe if they're unsafe?
Yeah, the communication and encouraging students to reach out and use resources. That's a fantastic campus. I talked to their dean of students office yesterday, and they are mobilizing their support resources. All campuses have supports in place. Students just need to make sure they're leaning in and reaching out to it. And many times students don't, but we encourage that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's up to the students.
Hi, this is Hadia Thark with the Argonaut. This may be a question for Scott Green or Blaine.
Uh-oh.
8 miles that way. What would you suggest that Wazoo does to make their students feel safe if they're unsafe?
Yeah, the communication and encouraging
heck?
students to reach out and use resources. That's a fantastic campus. I talked to their dean of students office yesterday, and they are mobilizing their support resources. All campuses have supports in place. Students just need to make sure they're leaning in and reaching out to it. And many times students don't, but we encourage that. Absolutely.
Hi, this is Hadia Thark with the Argonaut. This may be a question for Scott Green or Blaine.
What the heck? Why is it doing that? Hold on.
All these absences are excused. We've asked our faculty to
That's
work
weird.
with those students who chose to go. So we felt this was the best way, to respond, to give as much flexibility as we could to our students and our
Give as much flexibility as you could when 4 frickin' students were brutally unalived. That sounds just like the fucking manhunt shit in PA. We're gonna be flexible, everybody. We're going to be flexible with our perimeter so then the suspect continues to escape it. Yeah. There's a reason I had to be a little toned down when it came to a lot of this shit. Because of my trip. But that trip's done. I'm back home. I'm about to go the fuck off tomorrow. Because I've been keeping a lot of shit inside for a bit. Fucking ridiculous. Yeah, just go home. Just go home. Fake ass shit. Fake ass shit.
We've asked our faculty to work with those students who chose to go, so we felt this was the best way, to respond, to give as much.
Well, everybody, I'm going to be honest with you now that I'm back home. That's why I quit doing my body cam deep dive. I'm going to be honest with you. I quit doing my body cam deep dive because I was like, yeah, I'm going to be making a trip here soon. I'm not sure when. I need to chill out on that first. Trust me, the body cam deep dive is coming back now. There was a reason I had to stop it. There was a reason I had to not be so vocal about some of this shit that I've been holding in for the last week and a half. I had to. But I'm back now. I ain't over there no more. I'm back home. I'm protected. It's on tomorrow. This shit's ridiculous. This fake ass shit.
Flexibility as we could to our students and
Flexibility.
Our faculty to
No,
manage the
sir.
situation.
You figure out what the
Frankly,
hell
they've done a
happened.
Very good job.
Because who knows more? Who knows the most? Out of anybody in that damn community, who knows the frickin' most? The people you sent home, motherfucker. Ridiculous. The
Is the
people you
university
sent home.
working with the parents or the families of the victims? Are you in touch with them?
They are. I'll turn that back over to Blaine. I know he's been in, we both have been in contact with the families, but he's been very close to it. And so, Blaine, you want to take that question?
Absolutely. You know, one of the hardest jobs I have is talking to parents of students who have died. It's the absolute worst part of my job. And so I've reached out and made contact with all the families. We've offered our support, and we're going to stay in constant contact with them. I communicated with them almost every day. We usually give it a little space and time before we reach out, just for the sheer shock of absorbing the loss of a child and what that looks like. But we're going to stay in support of them moving forward for the weeks and months to come. And,
Yeah, you
in
better.
whatever capacity they need.
It's your job.
We've talked to a few of them and they've expressed some frustration
job.
with the lack of communication from investigators and from the officials involved on that side of it. Has the university heard that from them? How are you working with them to help kind of close that communication gap?
I'm going to be honest with you all. I think the university runs that fucking town. I think the university runs the town. Because all those businesses know, let's be honest, there's more frickin' students that go to that school than there are residents that live in that community that don't go to school. So, when it comes to all of the tax money that's being paid to the city, which is used to fund the police, you want the tax money from the businesses. You want the tax money, or, you know, how probably little they pay the university. You want whatever little bit they pay. You want the university to be happy because it's the university that funds your shit. It's the university that pays for those cool undercover cars that you drove around all over for your alcohol task force. How would you be able to afford one $30,000 vehicle, not to mention more than one $30,000 vehicle, just to have an underage task force? It's ridiculous. The university runs that motherfucker. Period. Sad to say, but it's the truth. If that university didn't exist there, that town would be like 10,000, 15,000, 12,000. All of those businesses. I'm going to tell you something. When I was driving there in all the surrounding areas, I was driving by different cities, smaller communities in that area, okay? So many businesses were closed down. So many businesses empty insides. Windows, you can see all in them. Imagine. You can't find the person that committed this crime. The students aren't going to feel safe. Hell, they probably wouldn't. How many of them, remember, after they made the arrest, they allowed students, hey, students, guess what? We've already been equipped because of COVID to do online school. So if you want to stay home and you still want to be enrolled, you can do online courses. And you know what? As an extra, courses that were not part of the online curriculum, blah, 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 they're going to go ahead and make those part of the online curriculum. We're going to go ahead and offer some of these classes we didn't offer before for online. We're going to go ahead and offer those now because we want you to feel safe. No, they want you to stay enrolled. They wanted somebody to be arrested real quick because guess how many students wouldn't have fucking came back if they didn't have somebody arrested? Hell no, I ain't going back, Mom. I'll just transfer. It doesn't seem like they have any idea. Yada, yada, yada. No, Mom. No. I'll do this online school for the next semester. And then during that, Mom, I'm going to see I'm going to look at other options. How many students, number one, wouldn't have came back because they wouldn't have felt safe? I'm not going to go live in a community where I can't even go to the gas station by myself because I don't know if this person's going to be creeping from a bush, because I don't even have a suspect profile. I don't even have a plate. I don't even have a picture of the vehicle. I have a stock photo of a vehicle, of a whole bunch of vehicles that look the damn same all over the place. So instead of walking around and existing in a community where I constantly got to look over my shoulder, my left shoulder, my right shoulder, and even behind me, as well as looking out front, how is that a comfortable? How can you comfortably focus on your studies if you are constantly worrying about all that in the back of your head? So you think that you're going to stay enrolled at a school where you have to think about all that stuff in the background instead of going to another school that you could just transfer to and continue your schooling? No, you're not going to live that way. Why would you? Let me go move to a house that has a leaky roof instead of going to move to a house that has new windows. Because if you know it has new windows, you know the roof is good. Because they're not going to put windows on a house if the roof's not repaired. Because the roof, you got to get that shit fixed first. You're not going to move into a house that has a leaky roof. Why would you continue to go to a school where you have to worry about somebody that committed a crime being right next to you? Laying there all sick. Man, I really, I wish I could go to the CVS and get me some NyQuil. Man, I don't know, man. I don't want it to be the last night that I'm here just because I need some NyQuil. I don't know if this person's going to come up for me, you know? No, actually, Miley, they had record attendance. They're doing great. Think about it. The business deal with the University of Phoenix online that was purchased back in the spring, that stuff, that's not just something that happens right away. That's stuff that's talked about for multiple months, maybe even multiple years. Those are discussions. It's not just overnight purchase acquisition. So what I'm trying to say is when the university runs that town, the university's already been in talks with that business proposition acquisition. They know how important it is because they're about to spend $500 million on the acquisition of it. And all of a sudden, this takes place. I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Green went to Mr. Fry and said, look, we're about to buy $500 million worth of business property here, and we need to make sure that we're not putting our foot in quicksand. Mr. Fry, what do you got? Well, you better figure it out soon, Mr. Fry. Because look at it this way, Mr. Fry. If people don't come to my school, then that affects all the businesses in our community, and all those businesses in our community have jobs for people that live in the community that also pay taxes. So you're talking about taxes from businesses, you're talking about taxes from personal, and you're talking about all of that is the funding that you get to run your police department, sir. So you better figure it out quick. You better figure it out quick. We better have somebody. I hope we have somebody. Wink, wink, before the new semester, because if we don't before this new semester, I'm afraid as a business, it's going to start an avalanche we might not be able to recover from. It might start an avalanche that we might not be able to recover from. It could potentially affect the enrollment coming back. Then it could potentially start a domino effect coming into the new year of the following year. You're going to tell me that allowing all of those people, who knows the most? The students, the frat, the students. Who talks the most? Come on, let's be real. Social media is at the back hip. People are talking on social media before they're talking to LE. And you're going to send all those people home. You're going to send all that. We're going to be flexible. You're going to send all those people home. Absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. Nothing but deflection. Hey, we're a community. We need to be vigilant. We need to stand together. We need to police our... Hey, I've been saying it for years. But why are you saying targeted, but then you say the community has nothing to worry about, but then you don't know if they have anything to worry about? You don't know. We need to be vigilant. We need to be aware of our surroundings. If we notice something suspicious, we need to mention it. Yada, yada, yada. Ridiculous.
Sure. I do know that Captain Barrett from the Moscow Police Department is also in constant contact with them. He reaches out to them on a regular basis. From that standpoint, I think it's safe to say everyone, the families most of all, want information, and they want justice. And I can't do anything but honor what their needs are and what they are. Whenever I hear a concern from the family members about what's going on, I definitely make sure I communicate that to the Moscow Police Department. They're very busy. They're working, the men and women of this department are working really hard on their behalf and on our community's behalf. But if I can be a conduit to share information, we're absolutely going to do that.
Has there been any update on the candlelight vigil that is postponed till after the break?
I believe it's November 30th.
November 30th.
November
At what time?
We're looking at 5 or 5:30. We're trying to finalize. Well, let me say,
Yeah.
there was a candlelight vigil that was originally scheduled tonight, but because of the volume of students who have left, we want to make sure we're creating a space where they can participate. We don't want someone driving back during this time to do that. So we have rescheduled to November 30th. We haven't finalized the time. We will definitely be sharing that out to our students in our community and the larger community. We're just finalizing some details. We're going to communicate that with the families as well. It'll be on campus. We haven't figured out the location yet because we're going to be monitoring what the weather looks like. We anticipate a large amount of individuals. That being said, we also have two communities that are just providing beautiful support. There's a candlelight vigil in Boise tonight. in honor of our lost students. And there's also a candlelight vigil tonight in Coeur d'Alene. And I say nothing but thank you and for the love and support from those communities that are supporting us. And we've seen that support come across the country and around the world for the University of Idaho and these families. And so it's a beautiful thing.
President Green, could you talk a little bit about the vandal alert that involved the knife and how the university handled it and what you found in that case?
Yeah, so basically we were just responding to the information that we had from the Moscow Police Department at that time. We have an incident response team. We gathered Sunday as we were notified by the Moscow Police Department that there had been a crime committed. At the time, we weren't sure if they were students or not, and we wanted to provide help to the Moscow Police Department, and we think we were able to do that successfully to help them, identify those students and contact their relatives. So, beyond that, it was just trying to understand what the assessment was of the risk to the campus. And we relied on our subject matter experts, as you've heard. They know more than any of us about this, and then based on that, we started making decisions about how to move forward this week.
Yeah, and so what were those decisions around that initial alert? What was the conclusion you had at that point about the level of risk?
Well, of course, your first, on the first vandal alert, it was high risk. We had really no information, and we asked our students to shelter in place, and until we got the all clear, from, well, it wasn't an all clear, but a reduced risk where we could where students could start to move around more freely. We had people sheltering in places like the library and the Pittman Center and places around campus, and we didn't want to keep them there all night if we didn't have to, and so.
Wow. Maybe I just missed that. They had people locked down in these frickin' campus buildings. Maybe I missed that from a long time ago. They had people frickin' locked down at the campus when they put that vandal alert out. I gotta look at my photos here real quick. Because I could have swore that vandal alert. I could have swore that vandal alert was at like 2 o'clock or something. Could have swore I had it. Oh, where did I have it? Damn, where did I have it? Oh, I lost it somewhere. Yeah, they hurt the students. That's crazy. They were using it to try and they locked down different parts of the campus even. So that morning, shelter in place in different campus buildings.
Yeah, so basically we were just responding to the information that we had from the Moscow Police Department at that time. We have an incident response team. We gathered Sunday as we were notified by the Moscow Police Department that there had been a crime committed. At the time, we weren't sure if they were students or not, and we wanted to provide help to the Moscow Police Department, and we think we were able to do that successfully to help them, identify those students and contact their relatives. So, beyond that, it was just trying to understand what the assessment was of the risk to the campus. And we relied on our subject matter experts, as you've heard. They know more than any of us about this, and then based on that, we started making decisions about how to move forward this week.
Yeah, and so what were those decisions around that initial alert? What was the conclusion you had at that point about the level of risk?
Well, of course, your first, on the first vandal alert, it was high risk. We had really no information, and we asked our students to shelter in place, and until we got the all clear, from, well, it wasn't all clear, but a reduced risk where we could where students could start to move around more freely. We had people sheltering in places like the library and the Pittman Center and places around campus, and we didn't want to keep them there all night if we didn't have to. And so as soon as Moscow Police Department determined that it was safe for them to begin moving around but be vigilant, we sent the other vandal alerts.
Wow. That's why LE said initially that the community didn't have nothing to worry about because the school didn't want to keep all the students there all night. What's going on, Fry? What's going on, Fry? I don't want to keep these students here all night, Fry. What's going on? Do we have to worry? What's going on? What's going on? That's why Fry said that the community didn't have to worry. That's why there was backtracking. That's why it changed from what it was to what it is right here. Boom, that shit. That's why. The university runs that fucking town. Fry, what's up, Fry? Do we need to worry, Fry? What's up, Fry? I can't keep my students here in this shelter in place, Fry. What's going on, Fry? The community has nothing to worry about. Never mind, everybody. Yeah, we already sent everybody home. It's good. What's going on, Fry? So the shelter in place where all the students had to stay in the library, yada, etc. So they show up, confirm. They don't know if it's students or not. They know a crime took place. That's already been confirmed. But then they had to wait for Fry to come there and determine that the community had nothing to worry about. So the students were literally there, shelter in place, from when they put the vandal alert out until they had confirmation from Fry that the community was safe, because dude didn't want to keep people there all night. That's why Fry was putting out contradictory statements when it came to if the community was safe or not. Boom,
We
that
had
shit.
really no information, and we asked our students to shelter in place, and until we got the all clear, from, well, it wasn't all clear, but a reduced risk where we could where students
Right,
could start
until
to
they
move
got-
around more freely. We had people.
Not that it was an all clear, but you know what? Because an all clear would have meant the dude was caught. But that, you know what, Chief Fry, okay, thank you, Fry. Chief Fry said, you know what, the community has nothing to worry about because, motherfucker, I run this town. Hello, you, let's go. I run this, right? I run this town. Let's go.
Sheltering in places like the library and the Pittman Center and places around campus, and we didn't want to keep them there all night if we didn't have to, and so as soon as Moscow Police Department determined that it was safe for them to begin moving around but be vigilant, we sent the other vandal alerts.
Yeah, you might apologize. I was referring to the earlier vandal alert involving the threatening with the knife in September.
Yeah, you want to respond to that? Thank you, Blaine.
So,
But thank you for all that information, sir. Because I'm glad you answered that instead of what he asked you. Because I'd rather have that response than what this Hollywood hair gel is going to tell us.
that vandal alert, we had a group of students walking back to Greek Row from a location off campus. They encountered an individual who was not affiliated with the university. They got into, from my understanding, a verbal altercation, and he ended up flashing a knife at them. It was not a stabbing. It was not a stabbing attack. It was a threat, to the best that we know. We sent out a vandal alert warning the individuals
with a knife.
Of our campus community at that time. I don't have the specific date, but it's out there from that aspect of it. And it's my understanding that individual then later turned himself into
thank you, Brandy
law
Wine.
enforcement,
Appreciate you.
and they've addressed what that happens.
So it's not connected in any way to this homicide.
That's a question for law enforcement.
You know who he is.
I know about the incident. I don't know the individual because he's not affiliated with the university. So my understanding, he turned himself into law enforcement. So I can't answer the question of whether he's connected with this or not.
So we want to thank you again for coming. That's going to be all the questions we take at this time. We appreciate you coming and spending time with us, and we will continue to put out information as we have time. And we want to reassure the community that the Moscow Police Department and everybody working on this will do everything we can. We love this community. We've a lot of us have went to the University of Idaho, and we are vandals, and we will do everything we can to solve this. Thank you.
And we just heard from authorities in Moscow about the homicides of the 4 University of Idaho students. We heard from the Moscow police chief, as well as the president of the University of Idaho and the director of Idaho State Police. Basically, they started off this news conference by recapping some of the stuff that we've already known, that the homicides happened in the early morning hours. They have been now referred to as murders, and that the 4 victims were stabbed with a knife.
Right.
And that
that's-
no weapon has been found at this time.
Right. And, the specifically saying a knife this time around, because before they were originally saying a sharp edge.
Yeah.
Correct. We also learned that there's still no suspect at a time. And while they still believe this is a targeted attack, they are telling the community to be extra vigilant and kind of walking back, saying that there was no threat originally.
Right. Chief Fry said, cannot say no threat to the community at this time. He specifically said the reality is that there's a person out there who committed 4 horrible crimes. So we have to go back and think that there is a threat out there. But they, as you mentioned, they think it is a targeted attack.
Right. And Chief Fry also revealing that 2 roommates were at home during the time of that attack, which is also something, still so many questions surrounding that revelation as well.
And back to the knife as well. A question was asked about whether police investigators believe that one weapon was used in the murders of all 4. And the chief said that they are hoping the autopsies answer the question if it was the same weapon used on all 4, if perhaps there was more. But at this time, no suspect's been found, no knife has been found, no clothing from the killer has been found. And basically they're scouring the scene looking for evidence.
And I will say there was a moment during this news conference where President Green was also talking about, I guess, that these crimes are beyond comprehension. And you could see that he was visibly getting emotional there, because not only does this impact the families, but essentially that whole
Give me a break. The dude went this a few times. When did he ever? I'm sorry. If I'm fucking crying, I gotta at least wipe right here. Give me a break. I'm gonna go back to the beginning of this real quick. The fuck, man. Anybody could.
My name
There's
is
one-
Chief James Fry
you
with the
know,
Moscow Police.
We know that one that's really good at, you know. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Department. I'll be
Ah.
reading from my notes today because
Oh.
I want the information you received to be extremely accurate.
Yeah.
We know you have questions, and so do we. That is why we're here. I'd like to thank everyone for attending this press conference. Joining me today is the Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson, University of Idaho President Scott Green, Provost and Vice President Tori Lawrence, University of Idaho Dean of Students Blaine Eccles,
And to the two initial person that just doesn't like me for whatever reason. You're so about attacking other people with criminal history, with records. Why aren't you talking about you instead of me, sir? Motherfucker. It's hilarious. You come in, you support the show, you make up bullshit like you were blocked and banned. No, you weren't. You just quit coming after you realize that we're not up Ellie's ass. But damn. Oh, the only bad thing I can say about CJ is he likes harsh. Motherfucker. How about you be smart enough so you don't get caught, dumbass? You fucking idiot.
Latah County.
Let's compare shit. You don't want me to have a show on you, you stupid ass. Give me a fucking break. I just don't like you, CJ. I don't think you practice PPP. Shut the fuck up. Like I said, what you eat don't make me shit, dumbass. Move the fuck on. Go to people who actually commit crimes. You know? Do some real work for the justice and victims. Come on, man. It's the cost benefit, and I'm sorry, the cost of your ass taking up airtime of your show to talk about me. The benefit is what? What's the benefit? Sir, I do not want to get stock advice from you. I'm just saying. I'll get it from
Sheriff
somebody
Richie
else.
Skiles,
I'll get
Chief
stock
Deputy
advice from
of
somebody
Latah
else.
County, Tim
You,
Best,
sir, do not see the future.
Idaho State Police Colonel Kedrick Wills.
Oh, boy.
The Moscow.
Oh, somebody by the initials of DJ. Just. Oh, the only bad thing I can say is that he don't practice PPP. I think he's an asshole, and he blocked me, even though I never did. And he likes harsh. Oh, jeez. Let's talk about the real shit, sir. Let's talk about the shit you actually got in trouble for. Let's compare, motherfucker. Dumbass. You know what I mean? You're going to spend time focusing on me when there's so many other fucking people that are worth focusing on. Because let's be real, sir. You've done a lot of great work. You've done a lot of great work. You're showing people who are fucking the reality of what they really are. One of them is one of them that I was trying to fucking tell everybody about a couple months ago. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you highlighting the fucking shitty ass soul that they have. You're wasting your time with me, sir. Number one, I don't fool around. I play fucking chess. Number two, I don't give a fuck what you think or your community or the people that claim to be they used to be my mods, but I booted them because they're just loose cannons. Don't need that. We need people that are actually diamonds here, not sand pebbles. So you can have those. But seriously, give it up, bro. You know what I mean? Focus your energy on shit that actually makes a difference instead of focusing it on me. Which, what is it? What are you going to get from it, sir? Nothing. So just shut the fuck up and move on. Go talk about the people you need to talk about. Because trust me, you do great work. Go talk about those people. Me, you ain't going to find nothing, dumbass. Give it
Students,
up.
Blaine Eccles.
Give it up. If we want to
Latah
have...
County
Give it up.
Sheriff Richie Skiles.
Sand pebbles, baby.
Chief Deputy of Latah County Tim Best. Idaho State Police Colonel Kedrick Wills. The Moscow Police Department would like to extend our condolences to all family members.
Oh, you know who it is. I
Friends,
used to be a mod.
the University of Idaho, and the
Listen,
Moscow.
there's a reason. If you're not a fucking diamond, I don't need you. If you're a loose cannon and you sit there and you want to tell somebody how to run a YouTube channel when your ass gets your children taken away, I'm sorry. And because you want to pop off at the fucking mouth and you want to talk a bunch of shit when you think you know how to run a YouTube show, when you can't even have your fucking children because they get taken away, I'm sorry. I don't need your fucking loose cannon shit. Go be a mod for somebody else. HM. The fuck?
Community.
Get the
This
fuck
is a
out
horrible
of here.
crime that took the
Get
lives
your
of
damn
Ethan
kid back
Chapman,
First. Then tell other
Xana
people how to
Granado,
live their fucking life.
Madison
You know what I'm saying?
Mogan,
Get your kid
and
back first.
Kaylee Goncalves.
Ridiculous.
This horrible crime has affected all of us, the families,
Loose
the
cannons,
University
I'm
of
telling
Idaho,
you. There's a
our
reason.
community,
Because your ass ain't a
our
diamond.
country, and our officers. Agencies that are involved in this task force include
The
Latah
fuck
County
outta
Sheriff's
here.
Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. As we continue our investigation, we have learned that Ethan and Xana were at a party on campus.
And I just gotta say, I know Stevie Irwin, dude, you're up Dago's ass. It sucks because you're a talented individual. I know you don't like me, but I heard about the video that you put out earlier. I went and checked it out, and what you had to say, man, 100, dude, 100. So I just want to say, you probably don't fucking like me. I don't really care for you, but at the same time, you do good work, and you know. I totally agree with what you're saying.
And
You
Madison
need to
and
just
Kaylee
go
were at a downtown bar.
go focus on
They
people that
arrived
need it
home
focused on. You know what I
sometime
mean?
After 1:45.
You know, don't
If anyone in our community or across our nation has any information about these times or the
don't ride a bike without training wheels, because then your knees get skinned up. You know what I'm saying? Don't ride a bike without training wheels that you have no business being on. Because when you're riding it without them training wheels, man, you're gonna lose your balance and then you're gonna skin the fuck out of your knees. You know what I'm saying? And we don't need people going, put a bandy on my knee. We don't need that shit. All right? We don't need that shit. So dude, you don't need to be on that bicycle. Get back onto the bike you're used to riding. Go ride that motherfucker. You're doing a great job on it, sir. You don't need your training wheels over there. This one, you need your motherfucking training wheels. No.
victim's whereabouts, please call our tip line at 208-883-7180. The facts of the case that we know right now.
I see.
We know that these homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday,
You
November
shut
13th.
the fuck up.
Around noon, Moscow officers received a call
dumbass.
of an unconscious person. Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan
Just
Chapman,
don't know.
Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves
It's not
inside the residence on King Road.
their fault.
The four were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time. There was no sign of
I love
forced
you,
entry into
Diamonds.
the
Thank you.
residence.
Appreciate you.
Investigators are continuing to collect evidence at the scene. Investigators are working to develop a timeline to relevant events. Autopsies are taking place today on all the victims so we can continue to gather evidence and solve the crime. Investigators are working to follow up on all leads and to identify a person of interest. Based on details at the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times. What we don't know, the identity and location of the suspect, the location of the knife or any clothing that was worn by the suspect. Currently, we have 25 plus investigators working this case, as well as assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Idaho State Police. We're reviewing video that has been collected, but we are asking citizens to contact us with any information you may have that will help in this investigation. Once again, we're asking anyone with a tip to call the tip line at 208-883-7180. At this time, I would like to introduce the University of Idaho President, Scott Green.
This guy, you know, and I've had a bunch of people actually reach out to me and ask me to make a ringtone, but I can't duplicate. I don't know. It's got to be in the moment, but maybe we can have that coming up in the future. No, I just got a little spicy there for a minute because it's just like, you know what? It's like, jeez. I get it. I'm not everybody's cup of coffee. You know what I'm saying? But damn. The self-policing on YouTube is just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? That's like, gosh, people, come on. Am I a criminal that was convicted? No. Am I out there committing crimes? No. Am I lying to people? No. Am I falsifying my tax records? No. Am I telling people that I'm the only source of income when there's multiple sources of income coming into the household? No. Am I entertaining all this crazy ass fucking shit? No. Just because I appreciate harsh truth and transparency, so what? I'll always support them. Oh, it's just, I don't know. I was just feeling it for a minute. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, who gives a fuck what you know, who gives a fuck for real? And then HM wants to say that all this other shit. You know what? Discord's a motherfucker, like I've said from the beginning. You wouldn't believe the amount of harassment that I received from said person. When before that, we were in a group conversation with other people. And then the harassment that I received after she left the group conversation that I continued to get for the rest of the evening, not only the rest of the evening, the next day. Didn't even really respond to it. People make shit up. And it's sad. It's sad. But what people don't realize is just like DNA There's homework all over the place. So be careful what you lie about, because at a moment's notice, your lies can crumble. People need to focus their energy on the truth and the justice for the victims. I don't understand, because I'm a guy trying to be nice, trying to do the right thing, focusing my life, focusing the energy of my life for other people, for victims and families and communities of the crimes that we cover. I live my fucking life for them. I spend 23 hours of the fucking day for them, for the victims, for the families, for the communities. I sacrifice shit that I used to do, even just for enjoyment. I sacrifice personal life shit for the victims, the families, and the communities. I literally sacrifice whatever the fuck I have inside of me, whatever moment of time I have. In the hour that I don't out of the day is because I'm whatever. People need to quit wasting their time on dumb shit. Quit wasting your time talking shit. I'm about the peace, positivity, and progress. That's why I have the big heart and the big boot. There's a reason the big boot comes out, because the big heart needs to be protected, and that's just how it is. Everybody knows it. It's just ridiculous, the shit that people want to come up and say. The shit that people want to focus their time on to complain about other people. It's so disgusting. It's so disgusting when I give everything that I give, because it is about the truth and the justice, and I see other people wasting their fucking time on shit there's no reason to waste it on. It's disgusting. Because with me, it would be like, you know what? I would love to take a whole evening and just not have to do any prep and talk shit about somebody else. I would love to do that. That would be great, right? I don't have to do any work. I can just sit there and talk the whole time. Use the fucking energy for positive. Use it for truth, for justice. Use it for what the fuck we are here for. Because any second, any minute, any month, any year is a waste for any of those potential victims or families or communities. Because one fucking moment that you waste on bullshit is a moment that could be talking about another one of these victims. It's ridiculous. Be about it or fucking don't. It's simple. I'm tired of fucking breaking my fucking ass to fucking work and fucking sacrifice and fucking do all of this shit for these other motherfuckers to sit here and claim the same thing. Instead, they just sit on their ass and talk. But yet we're part of the same. We're part. Shut the fuck up and be about it. It's disgusting. There's so many fucking victims out there. There's so many cases out there. We don't have enough time on fucking YouTube to cover them all. Be about the community. Be about the justice. Be about the truth. Be about the victims. Be about the families. Be about what we are all here for in the first place. Not everybody has the talent. Not everybody has the comfort to be behind a microphone, to be behind a camera, to be behind a show, to do any of this stuff. It takes certain people to be able to do what we're doing. It takes certain people to be able to go out to these places. It takes certain motherfucking people to do this shit. And when you have the opportunity and you have the tools and you have the talent to do it, use it for fucking good. Maybe if you people didn't trash people and waste time about doing that, maybe I could actually have another fucking half an hour every night that I could sit down and play my acoustic guitar, because I miss playing my motherfucking guitar. This is a transformer. This is a team effort. We already have mainstream media trying to knock us down. That's the big giant. Work together. Become that force. All of us talented individuals together. About the same. Because if we're all rowing the boat in the same direction to the sunlight of the justice and truth for the victims, families, and communities, we will succeed. We will make a difference. This foolery, people will sit there and go, you know what? I don't want to be called out for motherfuckers on YouTube. I better... maybe not this time, guys. Making a difference starts with the change. Making a difference starts with voices. Making a difference starts with communities getting together, building together, being about the same goal. Quit wasting your fucking time on shit that don't make no difference for the victims, the families, and the communities. Quit wasting your time on your own biases and who gives a fuck? Every single person on this planet could have a fucking show about how they feel. Boo-hoo. That's why I don't talk about the shit that goes on. I don't give... Listen, everybody, we all have real lives. When I'm on the show, we're talking about this shit. Sometimes I gotta do some shit like this. Be about the work. We have to do this together. I don't know how many times I gotta sit here and preach community. How many times I gotta preach fucking the transformer effect of all of us coming together, using all of our different talents and all of our different forces and coming together and knocking through this mainstream media, knocking through the BS that we get. People being held accountable before they even have to be held accountable, holding themselves accountable because changes were done, because all of a sudden, shit, there's a lot of fucking talented people out there that are figuring a lot of shit out that ain't part of no agency. It's ridiculous. It is. It is. It's exhausting, especially when all you're trying to do is focus it on, and then you just, so what if you don't fucking like me? I don't give a fuck, dude. I never gave a fuck about anybody that don't like me. You think you're the first person? I've been dealing with jealousy and hate since I was a little fucking kid. Please. Like I said, don't get on a bike that you need training wheels because you end up with skin knees. You know what I mean? Mommy, I want a bandy on my knee. It burns. All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and hop off for the evening. Thank you all for hanging out. I appreciate your company, your conversation. I will be back tomorrow morning. We'll be back on the normal schedule. I've gotten one full day here at home, and so I'm going to be back 9:30 a.m. Central, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be having an extended morning show, and then we're going to be having an extended evening show tomorrow night as well. Going to be going through family interviews, different footage tomorrow, just a bunch of different things, different photos, footage. I'm excited to go through that. And then we'll be getting into some of these other press conferences and a lot of this other stuff that I have saved for us to watch together. And we'll be having some panel members coming up too over the next couple shows. So thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. I appreciate you. Please go check out those 2 videos that I dropped earlier about the PCA BK. Drop some comments, check them out. One is strictly footage. The other one is with the commentary. And we're going to go through it again tomorrow. I know I just played it through just to show everybody the route. But tomorrow we're actually going to be going through and marking down the different spots where there's cameras. I'm going to check to see how many cameras, where they're at in Moscow, Pullman, and in between. We're going to be going into the surveillance of the PCA route tomorrow. So if you have any information, please send it to evilcj@gmail, Discord, or Twitter. We're going to be going into it, especially with the surveillance cameras for the city, towers, and anything like that. We're going to kind of be going into as well. So thank you all so much. Appreciate you. Thank you for your kind words. Thanks for all you do. And we'll see you tomorrow morning or tomorrow night, whichever you're available for. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate you.